How are you lads? So, finally have Metal Gear Solid 2 Part 3 done, and it's a long one. So this one took a whole hell of a lot longer than I expected, because the game is massive and there's so much to talk about, and I put blood, sweat and tears into the editing. This one is as much a video as it is a podcast. It's probably more suited to be a video essay than anything, but I've edited it in such a way that it'll work as either. So with that said, anytime you hear sound effects or stuff like that, you're probably better off to be looking at this rather than listening to it. But if you just want to listen to it, have it on in the background for some noise for whatever reason, it'll work that way just fine as well. So with that said, the last few podcasts I've really enjoyed making because I love the Metal Gear games, particularly Metal Gear Solid 2, and myself and Benny have a lot to say about it. So yeah, if you would like and subscribe, it'll cost you nothing, and I hope you do enjoy it because it took an absolute age to make, but it is very long. So look, sound, enjoy the podcast. Good luck and thanks. Ye cunt. We are once again back at it again for the final part of Metal Gear Solid 2. I am once again joined by me boy, Benny.
Hello everybody, it's good to be back, and it's good to have you back.
Presuming that you have come back, maybe you haven't, and maybe this is your first look into our podcasts, but if it is, go back and look at the rest, because, you know, they're absolutely class. They're unbelievable.
They're alright, yeah, they're alright, I suppose.
They are, yeah. Right, so picking up where we left off the last time. Last time we went up as far as our encounter with President Johnson. President Johnson revealed to us the existence of this game's version of the Illuminati, essentially, the Patriots. The 12 men known as the Wiseman's Committee who are behind everything. They have been running the show from the shadows. They are a bunch of wrong'uns. Nobody knows anything about them, which is kind of the key motivation of the antagonist of this game, Solid the Snake. He seeks to find out who they are, where they are, and he wants to destroy them and restore liberty to humanity.
Solid the Snake, yeah.
Solid the Snake, the perfected third clone of Big Boss, the third and final product of the Les Enfants Terribles project. What
a beautiful pronunciation. Been practicing your French on the side, PJ. It sounds wonderful.
Yeah, I'm probably going to get a bit of a nosebleed there now because when you're born and reared in County Tipperary, Ireland, and you try and enunciate words in a foreign language, it's quite hard on the brain.
Usually that's just kind of living in County Tipperary in general, but yeah, work away.
Yeah, sure, look, we can't escape our lowly origins, which is actually a relevant talking point as we go on with this episode. So, yeah, without further ado, we're going to get into the final portion of the game.
Warning ahead, strap in, it's going to get heavy.
Yeah, this is nightmare fuel.
By Christ.
So I better put a little forward here. So this game is fairly infamous for the themes and ideas that it explores, and I am very, very aware of the fact that there are 100,000 video essays and analysis videos and retrospectives all examining this whole section of the game, and it's all been done to death. With that in mind, I suppose, what can we bring new to the table here? And the answer is probably nothing.
Nothing at all, no.
So
in fact, we'll probably make it worse, but...
Yeah, look... There are far more articulate people who are better equipped, better educated people that have probably dismantled this game and made content that explains its themes and ideas better than what I'll only speak for myself here now.
Well, we're quite thick here in Tipp Studio, unfortunately, but
yeah,
we're going to do our very best to convey it as well. It's something worth covering, and it's like we saw videos now. It's been from one that covered 13 years ago and then one a few years ago. So it's something that keeps reoccurring. So it's something worth covering again?
Yeah, like in terms of what we can bring to the table that's unique, the only unique thing that you'll probably get here from this video
is PJ's can-do attitude.
Absolutely. Probably going to get from this that you won't get anywhere else is just our unique take on it, our unique reaction. This is essentially a very elaborate reaction video. there's probably nothing that we can say about this portion of the game that hasn't been said 1,000 times over. However, we're going to put our own Irish spin on it. If you enjoy that, welcome on board. So with that said, let's get into it. Yeah, suffice to say, this game is a massive deal for me, and it's probably my biggest influence ever, and it probably shaped my taste in things from the age of 13 on to today. Yeah, the game's 22 years old, so look, there you go.
I just think it's grand, yeah. Personally.
That's it, but
it's fine.
He's here because I need someone to, in much the same way as Hideo Kojima needed Tomokazu Fukushima to restrain him, I need Ben to keep me on point, otherwise I'll ramble about nonsense.
Emotionally support Ben.
My emotional support Ben.
To keep you on track. But yeah, just to roll back in a minute to follow up what we covered last time, we met up with the president who gave us the rundown of Arsenal gear, Solidus' kind of motive and what he's kind of doing, and I think that's where we kind of ended.
Yeah, so, he revealed the existence of the Patriots to us.
As well, yeah.
Yeah.
The very important thing I just glossed over, but yeah.
Yeah. So, with that, we won't beat around the bush. So, after President Johnson has revealed the existence of the Patriots, this game's Illuminati, and the existence of Arsenal Gear, which is a mind-boggling new incarnation of Metal Gear, but it's not just your average bipedal nuclear tank. This thing is a means of controlling humanity, the thoughts and will of humanity, and it is a means to control the species. And at its core, at its heart, is this AI called GW, which was designed to filter information. Because this game was released in 2001, around that time, we were just having the rise of the internet as we know it today. So the Patriots' main concern is they are obviously this shadowy Illuminati-like organisation who have been controlling everything from the shadows for decades and
managed to keep it under wraps and so forth.
Yeah.
But now with the revolution of the internet, information is like distributing far more.
Yeah.
It's far more prevalent and out of their control.
Yeah, they can't control information nearly as efficiently now. The internet is a massive problem. So in order to compensate for this new free flow of information, they have created this system, GW, and they've housed it within this new incarnation of Metal Gear called Arsenal Gear, which is essentially a giant...
It's like a roaming fortress.
Yeah, it's a big, huge submarine battleship type job. And in the opening chapter, we crossed paths with what we thought was this game's main incarnation of Metal Gear Ray. It was hijacked by the Patriots and then later redesigned and mass-produced into a means of protecting Arsenal Gear from external threats. Not only does Arsenal Gear have a massive payload of nuclear warheads on board as a means of self-defense, but it also has an entire army of the Metal Gear Ray bipedal tank that we encountered in the tanker section of the game. So we have met with President Johnson. He's given us the lowdown on this. And no sooner has he elucidated the facts to us, but we are then interrupted by none other than Revolver Ocelot.
Oh no, not to jump ahead. First he gives us the disc.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, good man yourself. See, this is why I need my emotional support, Benny.
Lads, if you need to give me a call, give me a buzz. I'll be around. So yeah, President Ames gives you a disc.
President Johnson.
What did I say?
You said President Ames.
Sorry. President Johnson. This is why I need you to keep me level, because I don't know
nothing without one another.
What I'm talking about. There we go. So he gives you the disc, which sort of acts as a virus or a worm cluster to be used against GW, and he tells you to go find Emma Emmerich, who is the designer behind GW.
Yes, Emma Emmerich created GW. She is the sister of Hal Emmerich, otherwise known as Otacon, Snake's buddy, the companion from the first game, from the tanker section, and a character who has been recently reintroduced into the events of the Big Shell portion of the game. So he is here with Snake, because the two of them, they're kind of like a double act at this stage.
Hall and Oates, boy. Can't break them up.
No. Telling you about it. They're like an old two-stroke engine, so they are. Mm-hmm. Between the two of them, they get the job done.
Siamese beasts or something, you know?
Hell yeah.
So part of Otacon's motive, it's not only, to kind of save the world from Solidus and Dead Cell and the baddies, but it is also to save his sister. He is aware of the fact that his sister is involved in this whole string of events. She is here under the capacity of like an AI engineer. She has created GW, which is the AI that exists at the heart of Arsenal Gear. What President Johnson has told us, he's said to us, in order to put a stop to Solidus's plot to overthrow the Patriots, because President Johnson has told us that as bad as the Patriots are, they are an organisation which must continue to exist because they have existed, God only knows how long at this stage. There's a huge question mark to how long they've been around. We know basically nothing about them other than the fact that they exist. The President's concern is that if anyone were to challenge the Patriots successfully and take them out of play, that the world would be engulfed in chaos as a result, because the Patriots, they've been running the show for so long that we wouldn't know what to do in their absence.
Create a massive power vacuum.
Yes, a power vacuum would be created in their wake.
Balls it all up.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me, to get a little bit philosophical, it reminds me of the statement by the philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche when he proclaimed that God was dead and we have killed him. So there's a kind of a similar thing here. For sake of this analogy, God is the Patriots, and Nietzsche's concern with that statement was in the absence of God, because God was kind of the rule of law up until the point when Nietzsche declared him dead.
He was the big man in charge.
Yeah, that in the absence of him, what the hell were we going to do? There was now a vacuum. There was a vacuum of order, and who knows what was going to pop up to take its place. It might
do some mad stuff like make podcasts and shit.
Aye. President Johnson's take is it probably is a case of better the devil you know. So the Patriots must continue to exist. So he was initially in cahoots with the terrorists, and he was part of their whole thing.
Negotiate his way into their ranks.
That's it. He wanted to wield actual power, and he wanted to bargain his way onto the Wiseman's Committee of the Patriots, so he would have actual power. However, once he realised the extent of Solidus's plans, he realised that this was going to be detrimental to humanity at large. So he had to renege on his decision to challenge the Patriots.
Well, I've told you everything you need to know. There's only one thing that remains to be done. Now, kill me.
And now, in the wake of this realization, he has now requested that Ryden kill him. The terrorists basically needed the president's own biometric data in order to greenlight the launch of the nuclear weapon. So his thinking is, if Ryden agrees to kill him, Solidus and Dead Cell, they will no longer be able to make the nuclear strike. So he thinks that the only thing that he can do for sake of humanity right now is to die and prevent catastrophe. So he has requested that Ryden kill him. Ryden is unwilling to do this.
I can't shoot the president. You seem grand, you know.
Everyone has a line, and Ryden's is at doing in the head of state.
The man in charge.
The big man. This
does get shot, not by Ryden.
No! That's abusing your right to free speech, Mr. President. Or is it ex-president?
During this, who slips onto the scene like the slippery serpent he is, only Revolver Ocelot with his cult single action army, and he puts one in President Johnson and takes him out of play.
The president! Why did you...
Alas, my finger must have slipped. I'll see you around, carrier boy.
Despite being a slippery serpent, an absolute reptile of a man, he is one cool... he's just
He is one of the best characters of the series, and I think my favourite rendition is the third game, because he's just such a cocky, upstart little bastard.
Yeah, he's only a young fella, but...
And then they ruin him in 5... By completely just, look how they massacred my boy! Oh god. Anyway, not to jump forward it, but he pops in, shoots the president.
Ocelot, he's just the coolest man ever. He comes in, he does someone in, and he always delivers the coolest dialogue ever.
You've abused your right.
That's abusing your right to free speech, Mr. President.
Or is it ex-president?
Yeah, that's it, yeah. And it's fucking Ryden turns around then, he's like, the president! Why did you... Alas, my finger must have slipped. Oh, Christ above. Ocelot. What a man.
Love him.
Cool mother
What is your motivation, Ocelot?
I don't even know myself, man. I'm spitting so many fucking plates, I don't know whose side I'm on.
You're fairly grand, eh?
You're fairly grand.
You're pretty
So
good.
he blasts the president away, and then he buggers off.
He buggers off, yeah. Ryden is about to go into pursuit.
Forget him. He did us a favor. Without free will, there is no difference between submission and rebellion. My only real choice is to put an end to this charade. Let me at least have the freedom to end it myself.
And then the dying president catches him by the leg. He says, forget him. He's done us a favor. Remember, the president wanted to die, so it's kind of, as far as the president is concerned, it's inconsequential who pulled the trigger as long as he's gone. He delivers a beautiful piece of dialogue that's quite pertinent to the events of the game going forward. What he says to Ryden is, he says to Ryden, without free will, there is no difference between rebellion and submission.
Chills.
Yeah.
I feel chills, PJ.
Class.
It could be just because your room is cold, but yeah.
That could be a lot of it too. But in any case, the president clocks out then, and he's gone. So now we're basically tasked with finding Emma Emmerich. But
you do give the colonel a call first to inform him what has just happened.
Yes, Ryden, the president has laid an awful lot of information on him now. He's told him that the Illuminati exist. He's told him about this mind-boggling new incarnation of Metal Gear, which is a means to control the species, basically.
Like, I think all the way up to this point, you get basic mention and breadcrumbs about the Patriots, but this is the full-on, like, first bombshell you get. This is the kind of first true mention and, like, their motivation, who's behind it, and so forth.
Yes.
And they don't pull any punches, like, they just lay it all out to the player, digest.
In the last part, I mentioned the whole Lale Lule Lo thing. What is the case with the whole Lale Lule Lo thing? Ever since the events of the first game, we are told that most of the characters are wired with nanomachines, which enable them to do all sorts of things. But what these nanomachines are also doing, because they are linked to a system which is controlled by none other than the shadowy organisation of bastards, being the Patriots, in order to conceal their own existence, whenever anyone says the words "the Patriots" in a certain context, the nanomachines pick up on it and they alter the words so that when somebody hears the Patriots and the Patriots don't want a particular person hearing the mention of the Patriots, the nanomachines filter it out, and what the person hears rather than the Patriots is they hear the words Lale Lule Lo. This thing that people kind of memed on and they were kind of laughing at, kind of going, oh, they're saying a silly thing. Now it's been co-opted into this kind of a creepy thing, and it's actually the hand of this shadowy organisation pulling the wool over our eyes, which is something that I think is just class. And it's made that little bit more insidious by the fact, rather than hearing the Patriots, you're hearing something that you might hear like a 3-year-old child say, Lale Lule Lo, you know, it's just such a silly, weird thing. But this creepy organisation of puppet masters have chosen this to be the thing you hear rather than the name of the organisation. I think that's unbelievable. But, you know, your mileage might vary. You might
I
still
think it's just fucking silly. That's what I think.
Well, you're entitled to your opinion, even if it's incorrect.
No, challenge. Fuck off. Anyway,
we're all entitled to be incorrect.
yes,
you know?
we're all wrong and we're all right. Blah,
That's
blah,
it.
blah. Moving on. So he gives it a rundown. Go pursue Emma Emmerich.
Yeah,
But
so
this is after the current. You inform the colonel that the president is gone.
the
He's
president
now
is
dead.
brown bread.
I met him just before he died.
Colonel, the president is dead.
I see. I'm sorry to hear that.
Ryden asks him if he thinks that the information that has been provided by the president is legit.
We're talking about a man who chose to die rather than risk a nuclear holocaust. Thanks to his sacrifice, the Nuclear Launch Authority has shifted to the vice president, effectively eliminating the terrorist threat.
The colonel believes what the president has said because he says to Ryden, we are talking about the words of a man who chose to die rather than risking the lives of innocents. There's no sense in the president telling you all of that, requesting that you kill him, and demonstrating that he's willing to die in order to protect the masses. So as far as the Colonel is concerned, everything that the President has told us is legit. Then Raiden goes to contact Snake and tell him what's occurred.
What's your status, Raiden?
Snake, the President, he's been assassinated.
What?
There was nothing I could do.
I met him just before he died.
It's upon that time when he asks Snake and Otacon, what does he make of this information about this Illuminati, about these Patriots?
Since the Shadow Moses incident, Snake became sort of a hero. I think the Patriots weren't too happy about that.
You knew about the Patriots?
Well, yes, to a certain degree.
It seems like everyone knows about them except me.
Himself and Otacon already knew about the existence of the Patriots. They had just been saying nothing to Raiden. And Raiden's quite frustrated by this.
Raiden's like, why didn't you tell me?
Yeah, why didn't you tell me?
To which they reply,
You knew about Arsenal gear?
Yeah,
Why didn't you tell me about it?
you never asked.
you didn't ask.
Yeah, you didn't ask, kind of a bit of a dick move on Snake's part. But
Come on, that would have been information that would have been fairly useful to me now.
that's it. Although, I suppose, to kind of maybe engage in some apologetics for Snake's fuckery, I guess Raiden showed up identifying as being a member of Foxhound. So Snake smelled a rat straight away. So I guess Snake is entitled to be suspicious of him. For all he knows, telling this guy stuff could be detrimental moving forward, because this guy could be... And everyone in this game, the subterfuge and the lying is just choice. So I guess you gotta play your cards close to the chest. So I guess Snake is kind of justified in playing the cards close.
So you contact Snake, let him know the President's dead. He's like, Jesus, fair. Alright, anyway.
So he's like, okay, so that means the terrorists have lost their nuclear strike capability. It's like, yeah, well, so it would seem. We move on from that point of conversation. We get into a discussion with Snake and Otacon about the tanker incident. They reveal to Raiden that they were led into a trap and the whole thing was a ruse. They wanted to frame Snake and Otacon for the sinking of the tanker. After the events of Shadow Moses, Snake was recognised as being a hero, the hero of Shadow Moses, as Raiden says at the start of the game, once Colonel Campbell says the leader of the terrorists is Solid Snake, to which Raiden replies, the hero of Shadow Moses? So the Patriots wanted to discredit Snake because it didn't suit their agenda for Snake to be this hero. Now Snake and Otacon were framed as being some of the world's biggest environmental terrorists going. They sank a tanker off the coast of Manhattan and destroyed the place in crude oil, apparently.
You've peddled your lies all over the world.
Otacon goes on to reveal that the tanker, well, we already knew this, but the tanker, he tells Raiden, there was no oil, there was no crude oil on that tanker. The only thing that tanker was carrying was Metal Gear Ray.
You're going to tell more lies now, are you?
So what they did in the immediate events after that tanker sank was they sent another tanker to the same location full of oil and they sank it to necessitate the building of the big shell. But it was a controlled oil spillage. It was just in order to have an excuse to build the big shell, and the big shell was basically camouflaged to cover the development of Arsenal Gear.
Lies.
So then Arsenal Gear was under development there for the past 2 years, and that has led us up to where we're at now.
It's all lies, lads. Don't believe it.
It's all lies.
Lies.
So now you are being compelled by not only your mission, but by Otacon as well, to rescue his sister, who is his main reason for being involved in this. Emma Emmerich is Otacon's sister. She is the designer of the AI that exists within Arsenal Gear, GW, and you were told by President Johnson that she is the only person that can install the virus that was on the disk that he handed off to Raiden just before his death. You are now tasked with finding Emma. If all goes to plan, she is going to implant this virus into GW, and hopefully this entire debacle will be sorted out.
So you make your way through the strut that got blown up earlier, I think, by Fat Man.
So the big shell has taken quite a pounding. You had the detonation from Fat Man's explosives earlier on, and not alone did you have that, but after the fight with the Harrier jet, Metal Gear Ray came up to save the Harrier jet, to grab that out of the sky and to bring Solidus back to Arsenal Gear. That thing launched a massive payload of missiles and for the most part destroyed what remained of the big shell. Shell 2 is in tatters, flooded for the most part, so you have to swim to get to where Emma Emmerich is. She is in a lab. We're in the Shell 2 core. and she is in one of the lower levels, and you have to swim to get her because the thing is flooded.
Yeah.
So you start swimming to get to where Emma Emmerich is, and on the way, a little Easter egg here, you can find a figure floating in the water of none other than Vulcan Raven. This is the second time that you've encountered one of these figures of Vulcan Raven. In the tanker section, when you're playing a Snake, you turn a corner and you see a massive shadow in the shape of the iconic shape of Vulcan Raven with his massive minigun. Snake is basically like, oh Christ, it's Vulcan Raven. But it can't be Vulcan Raven because Vulcan Raven is dead, although that has never stopped a Metal Gear character from returning. Death
is only a suggestion in this fucking series, like.
That's it, yeah.
But its shadows kind of cast upon the wall, and as you kind of round the corner, it's revealed to be a little figure.
It's only a figure, and if you touch the figure at all, it starts making a noise, a kind of a, and starts kind of shooting little pellets.
What noise does it make? I can't hear you. Do it again.
I'm not doing that again. But I'll drop in the clip. That is essentially what the sound that it makes. Like I don't know. Is that?
Yeah.
I don't remember.
I'll take a word for it. Just in case. One more time.
Yeah, I don't remember Raven actually making that sound in the first game. But
yeah, it fires off his little minigun as well, but like, no actual bullets come out.
Yeah, it's little pellets, but if you leave it there, and this is another thing, much like the sad man that I am watching the ice melt, if you watch that thing, it'll destroy you.
Shut up about the self-deprecation.
Look,
you're a great man, and I love you.
Sound lad. At least
I'm lying to make him feel better.
I sure look.
But look, yeah. So I thought when you mentioned the little figure Easter egg, you mean the as you open the door, who happens to float out at you?
Peter Stillman, the bomb disposal expert who got done in by fat bastard earlier on in the game. Out comes the corpse of Peter Stillman, and it's like, oh no, there's our buddy from earlier on, and he's dead, and he's...
Anyway, moving on.
Yeah, moving swiftly along. So we get through that section, and we come to the room that leads onto the area where Emma Emmerich is being held. In that room, who is waiting for us?
Only the sucky boy,
Vamp. None other than the sucky boy himself.
Hungry for more lads to suck off.
Knob.
Still ticking, huh?
Unfortunately, hell had no vacancies.
Vamp, the bisexual flamingo dancing vampire.
Just in case he forgot, he's back again.
Yeah, so...
laying in a sort of body of water, which he explains at some point that it's like highly oxidized, so it has no buoyancy.
Yeah,
whatever. Yeah.
Vamp is sitting on the surface of the water, which is another kind of a surreal kind of a thing, and goes on to say, oh, it's because the water's oxidized. But we did see him running over water earlier on that wasn't oxidized. Presumably that was just normal water. That ties into the whole surreal nature of things. So it'll all kind of marry up with what's to come.
I do believe he gives you kind of a rundown on Dead Cell's nature.
Yeah, he gives you a little rundown on Raiden is saying,
or the backstory,
you know, say. Oh, you're all insane. That insane, we might be the only ones telling the truth. So he's alluding to the fact that there has been a whole hell of a lot of lying going on in this house here tonight.
Yeah, because I think he reveals they're like an anti-terrorist organization.
Yeah,
and at 1.6 months ago, the Patriots decided to sell him under the river.
6 months prior to the events of the Big Shell incident, the Patriots decided that they were going to frame Dead Cell.
6 months ago, we lost everything we believed in. We were abandoned to take the fall in their cover-up. We were labeled as killers, responsible for the mass murder of civilians as well as our own allies. And the public believed every word, turning a deaf ear to whatever we had to say to the contrary.
Because of the framing, the lies that were told, it made the group seek revenge on said Patriots. So now their goals aligned with that of Solid the Snake.
Our only goal is to wipe them from the face of the earth and destroy this world of deceit they have created along with them.
You're insane.
Insane? We might be the only ones telling the truth.
We got a pretty decent boss fight here with Vamp swimming in the oxidized water.
Flying over the gap, bouncing off the walls. But one of his most important moves is pinning you down by throwing a knife at your shadow, which I believe someone said is a reference to Naruto. I've never seen it, so I don't know. So to counteract this, the player has to shoot the bulbs around the room in order to darken it.
Yeah, or you can just shoot the knife that is in your shadow to free yourself from his grip. So the boss fight with Vamp, he tells you before the fight commences that he can read your muscles, and there is a lock-on function that you have. If you hold the L1 button as you're pointing the gun, you'll kind of auto-aim towards character. If you use that against Vamp, he will block every bullet that you fire at him with perfection. But if you don't use that lock-on thing, you have a chance at hitting him. Just fire off enough rounds and you will hit him. So that's what he means by I can read your muscles. You can't use the auto-aim against him. He swims through the water, you can fire stingers at him, you can fire the grenade launcher at him, you can dispatch him in any piece of equipment that you have at your disposal. You can plant claymore mines.
Big old boot up his arse, send him across the room, yeah.
I wish that were an option that we could plan.
You gotta beat it on hard mode and you lock the boot, yeah.
Because if ever there was a man that deserved a boot in the arse, it's Vamp. The old knob sucker.
Oh my god! Alright.
Suck on that, you dirty apple.
So you bait the old sucky boy anyway, and you send him into the body of water that apparently has no buoyancy, so once you're sent in, you're not coming up. So would you believe it? It's the last we see of Vamp, if you can believe it.
Yeah, so that's him dealt with for the moment.
It's not.
Yeah. Vamp is like a bad dose of the clap. He always comes back. But in any case, we move in.
This is all get demonetized, I think. Moving on.
Well, look, they've demonetized me for less, so...
Yeah. So you bait him in and you get through the room, you meet up with Emma Emmerich. She is inside the locker, and as you open it, she initially thinks that you are probably one of the Russian soldiers coming to do her in.
Yeah, because she has already been drugged. She's told us that she's been injected with something, a kind of a sedative to keep her under control.
And the pimps will be using crack to keep the whores under control.
She can't walk properly, and now you're informing her that you have to swim out of this area. And not alone is it an issue that she's semi-paralyzed, but she also has a fear of water. Because we go into the backstory of herself and Otacon. Herself and Otacon are step-siblings. They are not genetically related. And this is another example of a mimetic bond. In line with the theme of this game, the theme of this game being memes as opposed to the first game's genes. A thing in this one is you have a lot of characters that are connected not genetically but mimetically, but they aren't genetic siblings, which ties into the dynamic that they have in that it would seem the character of Emma Emmerich, on one hand she resents Otacon because we are told...
Kind of delve into the backstory, she nearly drowned in the swimming pool.
She's afraid of water.
What?
Yeah. When she was 6 years old, she almost drowned with my father in our swimming pool. When the accident happened, I was in my room. E.E. was calling me for help. She didn't doubt for a minute that I'd be there. You could see the pool from my room, but I didn't realize at the time that she needed my help.
What were you doing?
I was...
He wasn't there for some reason, which we will come to. As a result, she nearly drowned. So she has developed a fear of water since. So she is terrified of the water. It's not bad enough that she's semi-paralyzed from whatever sedatives that the terrorists have injected her in to keep her under control, but she's also petrified of the water. So you have to do a bit of convincing to get her to agree to climb onto Raiden's back and swim out of the now flooded Shell 2 core. You get back to the area where you fought Vamp. There's more dialogue then with Emma. She speaks about her childhood with Otacon, how close they were, and how torn up she was by what she sees as a betrayal by him when he wasn't there to save her. Not long after that, we are told that his father committed suicide for an unknown reason, and Otacon disappeared off the face of the earth, and there was no contact beyond that point between Emma Emmerich and her stepbrother Otacon.
No! He left me, my mother, when we needed him the most. When my father died, all he could think about was himself.
Everyone's now in contact via codec. Through the dialogue exchange, we are told that there is a deep resentment that Emma harbours for him, and that was her motivation for becoming involved in the Arsenal Gear program.
Because when they get in contact, Hal kind of reprimands her, reminding her of their family's dark history.
Hal?
Is that you?
Hal?
Why are you involved with Metal Gear?
Huh?
You knew our family's dark history and still got involved? What's wrong with you?
I should have known.
Answer me. Why are you repeating the same mistake?
I wanted to hurt you. I wanted to see you suffer.
It's really just like, I wanted to hurt you.
In the first game, Otacon alludes to the fact that both his father and his grandfather were involved with nuclear weapons development in some capacity, and now Otacon was ashamed of himself because he was continuing their family's dark legacy of involvement with nuclear weapons, essentially. And now, because Emma has involved herself with the Arsenal Gear project, she is continuing this legacy as well, which is quite upsetting to Otacon. Emma goes on to say that was her motive because she knew that this would upset Otacon, and it was her way of getting revenge on him for abandoning her.
Cowl and a half.
She then goes on to explain to us about what it is GW does.
The president said that Arsenal Gear was the Patriots' key to supremacy.
That's as good a description as any.
What exactly is it?
It's a massive data processing system capable of controlling information on a global scale.
A data processing system?
That's right. The system's a social device for maintaining the Patriots' control.
You've lost me.
Raiden asks, what's the story with GW? You were the lead developer on the GW project, so what's going on there? We've been told by the president. She just further elaborates on it. She gives us a little thought experiment. She says to us, the alphabet, 26 letters. What if the alphabet actually had 30 letters in it? The 4 letters had been erased from history. How would you know? And
I think she says, the 4, what if they were kind of taken and suppressed? To which Raiden rebuttals, sure, we would know. To which she replies, but how would you know? They've been suppressed.
Yeah, because digital information is something, at the time this game was created, was something that was only in its infancy. So information up until that point was something that was recorded on paper, on tablets, and it was something that existed within human memory. She says the human capacity for memory is extremely flawed. So is human lifespan. If something like that was systematically suppressed, how would you know?
Lads, this is the start of it,
Yeah, this is the start of it. Then,
oh, God.
She then goes on to reference genetics.
Because he does ask her, do you know about the Patriots, which kind of leads into GW. So that's what kind of leads into this conversation about kind of suppression of information and control.
The question is history, everything that we know about anything. How do we know any of it is real? Or if some organisation out there was making a conscious effort to suppress certain parts of history and to control what we know, what we would see as truth, now there's a massive question mark over it. How true is anything? We only know what came before because of what data has been recorded. But if that data has been altered somehow, all we know is what we've been told. Time, memory, all of that jazz
everything, yeah,
has distorted information. So GW is a system that will rewrite human history according to the Patriots' will. Whatever the Patriots want history to be, GW will make it so. It is a sophisticated system to make sure that certain things get wrote into history according to what the Patriots see fit. So this is a terrifying idea. Anything that
God.
we know. And
but because all the way up to that point, they were able to suppress it and control it prior to the sort of digital age. But as the revolution of the digital age came about, they were going to be pushed from dominating to dominated.
Yes, because now with the rise of the internet, the flow of digital information would mean that they could no longer suppress information.
Because it's down to the individual.
So now they get to decide what history is and what our values are and how we frame reality. So this is just a terrifying idea in and of itself.
Because I know, Emma puts it towards Raiden a few times, and he keeps rebuking, saying, surely people would know. And she's like, that's the whole point. You wouldn't know. I think she mentioned, do you know how many, was it DNA in your body, or what was it? What was the question?
Yeah, genes. The mapping of the human genome was completed this century. Do you know how many genes are in a human being? And I can't remember the number now, but
I think he says about 60,000 or something like that.
Yeah, and she goes on to say the true number is actually close to 100,000, but the outlying data was suppressed by the Patriots. And Raiden says no. And again, she goes, but
do you know what it looks like?
Do you know what a gene looks like? I mean, how would you know? Have you got any idea how the fundamentals of genetics work, or even how even data is exchanged between systems? You have no idea. You only have your presupposition based on what you've been told up to this point.
What is true?
How are you proposing that information is reliable? Like, you have no idea. You just know what you were told before, and you are holding that up as the gold standard as to this is truth.
Contesting it on a pure surface level, and then when pressed in to kind of like back it up, it's like you've got nothing.
But you're not really even equipped to call this into question. You were told something and you believe it. And now you've been told that what you believed up until this point is nonsense. And because you've gone as long as you have believing what you've believed, there is a degree of sunken cost fallacy in that you know you've believed this for as long as you have believed it. So now you don't like the idea that you've lived a lie up until this point. So you want to believe what you were told before because you've believed it for as long as you have.
Cognitive dissonance.
Essentially, this is the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah, this is just Emma explaining her. Oh my god!
And
there's so much ahead.
We haven't even scratched the surface of where this goes.
God.
Good Lord, help us.
Yeah, like this is Emma just explaining as is, just on a pure surface level. It's like information that you have come to believe could be complete arse. It just could be lies. And when you can test that, like, how would you know? You can't.
That is exactly it. Who's to say that history isn't a ball of lies? How can you contest it? Were you there? Do you have an eyewitness account?
Were we really suppressed by the English?
Yeah. Oh no! Hang on a minute for a second. Hang on
a second there.
I'll tell you now. I don't care what's true or what isn't. F*** them bastards.
Anglo bastards. Why have the spots gone black in the ground?
Why, Lord? Why have the spots gone black in the ground? Patriots or no? Fuck them bastards.
Like I said, like, lads, if you have played this game or even have seen clips about it, this is not even touched on what's coming up. Like, we get to the point with GW and that melt your brain and just send you into
an existential crisis.
Yes, that. But so Emma gives you the rundown anyway. The tip of the iceberg of this crap.
Yeah.
And then you kind of move on.
Christ, we've only barely scratched the surface and we're nearly an hour into this. Mother of God.
I might have to make a part 4.
Oh Lord, don't say that.
No.
Don't say that.
Let's barrel on. So you grab Emma.
The plan was to keep this to 3 parts. So look,
but there's so much to cover. Look, you grab Emma and you keep moving on. You swim through the sections. Yeah. So there's a connecting bridge is destroyed, so you have to move across.
You have to get back to the Shell 1 core, but because the connecting bridge is destroyed, you have to go to the bottom of one of the struts. And there is a small, what would you call it?
Oil line or something?
Yeah, there's like a little kind of a line of little floaty platforms that are all connected that lead to Shell 1. You have to escort Emma around the perimeter of the lower levels of the struts, but because the bridge is so flimsy, it can't support the weight of 2 people. So Emma has to cross that part and you have to cover her with a sniper rifle.
The old PSG
the
one?
Old PSG one, yeah. The same rifle from the original game.
Sniper Wolf uses, I think as well, yeah, her favourite.
The sunset. It's beautiful.
So you're providing covering fire for Emma as she's moving across it.
If we don't hurry, it'll be the last we see.
Very feckin' slowly. Shoot down the little ciphers. There's enemy soldiers in the way. And
there's enemy soldiers camped on the struts. And there is the little flying gun cipher things. You gotta take those out. There's claymore mines planted. As a wee little Easter egg, the directional microphone that you used earlier on in the game to detect Ames's heartbeat, if you break that out and you point it in the direction, you will hear Emma talking about Ryden. Kind of thinking out loud because she thinks no one can hear about Ryden and what she makes of him. And she thinks he's a bit weird and she questions whether his hair is real or not. And if you call her, Ryden will confront her about this and say, yeah, this is my real hair, just so as you know. And she's like, well, I don't know what you're talking about. I didn't say it.
But I got my own ideas about that hair. I wonder if it's... Well, it must be. I could ask him later. Oh, but he'd probably get ticked off. I'll leave him alone.
Emma, about what you said behind that column there.
Huh? What are you talking about?
Can I just say something?
Sure.
This is my real hair, okay?
Of course. As if I said anything about that.
You can point at Snake as well that he says some things, but then...
Do I need to clear things with Otacon before I ask her out? All right. Phew. Is she all right? Not bad at all. just a little more.
The little kind of Easter egg, yeah.
She encounters Johnny, the comic relief character from the first game.
He's more than that. He plays a completely pivotal point in this.
Let's not go there. Let's not go there. But yeah, but Johnny, insofar as this game is concerned, he's still in his lane in that he is still a comic relief character up until this point. You could also detect Johnny still having a bad dose of the shites. He is in the Shell 1 core where you met Ames earlier on, and he's once again having a bad dose, and you can listen to him in the jacks if you point a directional microphone to the left of the area where you are listening in on the conversation between Solidus, Olga and Ocelot in that portion of the game.
Come to think of it, that commander chick really reminded me of someone. Who is she like again? Oh. Well, yeah, she's like her. Now that's a time I'd like to forget. Ridiculous that I had to get jacked for everything that was on me. When I think about it, that's when everything started to hit the skids. It's a shame. Up to that point, I was steady cruising on the elite course. Oh, here we go again! Oh! Still, that Russian crew is a pretty decent bunch. The president's escort guys get on my nerves, though. Oh, whatever. For now, just gotta hang in there. Oh. There's no paper.
But in this portion of the game, he's also behind one of the struts. He encounters Emma, and they have a little dialogue, and it's funny. And I'll drop in a clip here, so I don't have to elaborate on that further.
What are you doing here?
It's not by choice, thank you very much.
Oh.
You're not gonna shoot me.
No.
Why not?
Stay away from good-looking women when you're fighting. Otherwise, you'll get hit with diarrhea.
Huh?
One of the few things I learned from Shadow Moses.
What are you talking about?
Ancient history. Don't worry about it.
I have no idea what you're talking about, but does this mean you're letting me go?
Well, you could have found a nicer way to say that, but sure. Better hurry.
Thanks.
Don't mention it. Just run like hell. Oh no, my stomach! Not again! Oh. This place is about to sink! Just get out fast, okay? Oh.
Wait!
What?
What's your name?
Don't have one!
Huh?
Okay, fine. It's Johnny! Oh, I'm not gonna make it.
Hey, if we run into each other again... Huh. What a weird guy.
Leave it there. She moves on.
Yeah, she moves on, and you continue to provide cover fire up until she is ambushed by no one else than fucking...
The sucky boy!
Senior Suck Off himself.
Would you believe it? He didn't drown in that no buoyancy, bollocky water at all.
Like the aforementioned dose of the clap, he's back.
Oh!
The fucking suckler himself.
He's not after any lads this time, he's after some goal.
Yeah, he's after a bit of clunge.
Nub.
So he springs up and he grabs Emma. You quickly have to engage in not quite a boss fight.
Do you know what? It's very underwhelming. He just kind of stands there, moves her out of the way a split second for you to get a shot in, and it's just kind of rinse and repeat.
Yeah,
it's not very challenging. It's not very engaging. It's just a bit of an obstacle.
You shoot him in the head a couple of times and take him out of the equation. So you do that. Insofar as this game is concerned, that's the last time we see Vamp.
It is the last time we see Vamp, lads. He never shows up again.
Oh Christ.
That's a lie. So you blast Vamp anyway. He goes into the water in the depths, and like we said, that's the last we see of him. And you seemingly save Emma Emmerich. But as she is freed from Vamp's grasp, she kind of stumbles a little away, and all of a sudden a patch of blood appears on her abdomen.
It would appear we were unsuccessful in our attempt to save the life of Emma Emmerich.
Balls.
Yeah. So we were relying on Emma to implant the virus into GW, but now it would seem her time is extremely limited.
Yeah. So Snake, who was actually providing covering fire as well, runs down, rushes to Emma's side and calls in. She hasn't got much time. We're going to rush her to the strut. Get over here now with the disc and we'll try and get this sorted.
We got to get this job done before she dies because she has been stabbed.
Raiden, Emma's been stabbed. That bastard.
How bad is it?
She's conscious, but the bleeding's bad. I'm bringing her over there right now. Raiden,
Get that disc over here as soon as possible. I'm afraid her time's running out. I'll be there.
She's bleeding out and there's nothing that we can do to save her, essentially. So with that, Raiden boots it to the Shell 1 core. This entire section of the game, the sun is setting because it's that time of the day now. The mission's been going on throughout the entire day. Sun is setting, things are starting to get dark. And there's just a beautiful ambience in the game.
I mentioned this earlier, I still kind of stand by it. I found the big shell. I'm not very interested in gameplay wise. I found it a bit boring, but I'll give you the sunset. You can have that. I'll be sound like that.
Well, I'll be sounder again.
Well, nothing.
I'm just going to say you are more than entitled to be as wrong as if you ate your fucking hat.
Listen,
in any case.
you are positioned in such a way I can deliver a merciful fucking boot to your arse.
Well,
moving on. So you run over to the strut. Like you said, now it is quite a beautiful scene. The sun is setting over the strut.
I must just say, save your boots now for your shit opinions, buddy.
Oh! Dem's fighting words.
Go ahead, I wouldn't bait eggs.
You prick.
But, yeah. So, in any case, we have to get to the Shell 1 core. So we get to the Shell 1 core and we see that Emma is in the final phases of her existence.
Handed this to Snake and he's like, we'll get the thing going there now. All the while, Otacon is holding his stepsister, who he hasn't seen in such a while, so this is basically their reunion and it's their final moment.
Yeah, he hasn't seen Emma since they were children and now she is dying in his arms, essentially. And poor Otacon gets an awful doing throughout all of these games. Every game that Otacon is in, somebody dies. And the poor man gets an awful time of it. An awful, awful time of it.
How's Emma? I think he got some internal organs. We can't stop the bleeding.
So here's this estranged sister who he always had this terrible guilt about betraying and leaving, and now she's dying in his arms. The virus that she's uploaded to undo her contribution to the GW project and to Arsenal Gear appears that it's not working. It's stopped. The virus upload has stopped at 90-something%, and we know that she's dying. So to spare her last moments of going, oh no, I've contributed to the Emmerich family's dark history. Further, Otacon gives her a white lie in that he tells her, no, everything's fine. The virus upload is complete. Everything's okay.
What the?
An antibody agent?
Damn! The connection's been cut. Is the virus upload complete? I don't think so. The count stopped at 90%.
Hal, is everything all right?
It's all right. Everything's all right.
Good. Hal, I always...
What is it?
Wanted to see you again.
He elects to let her die in peace, but she goes on to tell Otacon that her true reasons for involving herself with the GW project was in order to feel close to him, because ever since childhood she was angry at him, yes, but she was also just devastated by the loss of him. And she alludes to the fact that she actually
they do go into, they were kind of lonely as children. They only had each other.
Yeah, they were incredibly lonely people growing up. They just had one another. And after their separation, Emma, once, she reached adulthood, she actually started to harbour romantic feelings for Otacon. She says that she was a little bit put out by the fact that he is still, at this stage, referring to her as...
kind of a little nickname,
Yeah,
EE.
he has a childhood nickname for her. He calls her EE, which is short for Emma Emmerich, of course. And Emma says, I just wanted you to look at me as a woman. Her final request is that Otacon refers to her by her proper name as Emma, and he's unable to do that. He says, I could never look at you as a woman. And she says, don't be so honest, it hurts. So she is revealing the fact that she's always had this kind of a romantic interest in him, which is a bit strange on one end, but it's terribly tragic that they had this childhood together, this lonely childhood together.
What's wrong with EE?
And then they were separated, and she spent the remainder of her life half resenting him, half
Emma,
missing
lamenting
him. Emma?
So Emma dies.
Emma!
Otacon is understandably destroyed by this, and he goes on to tell the story to the now dead Emma. he reveals the reason why he wasn't there at the time that Emma almost drowned. He reveals the reason that he wasn't there to save her from drowning was because he was in fact engaged in an affair with Emma's mother, the wife to his father and his stepmother, Emma's biological mother. And he says that the affair went on and it had been going on for a while. And that day, when he should have been looking after Emma and making sure that she was okay to swim in the pool, he was in fact sleeping with...
He was riding the mother, but it's less delicately, you know. You had something beautiful going. I swept in there just to inject some bodily levity.
Put a fine point in it, he was shafting his stepmother.
Rain him.
He was laying the pipe.
He was rattling Emma's mother.
Can you put the sunset backdrop while you say that?
I absolutely can. I will put up some beautiful visuals and I will undermine it with talk from the gutter.
You hammered your mother. You had sexual intercourse with her. Was it with her consent?
So, while he was on the job, gone to the axle on poor Emma's mother, his father's wife, poor Emma was drowning, and Otacon was drowning in his stepmother's...
You hammered your mother.
That's it, just drowning in the stepmother.
He was just drowning in the stepmother.
You got it right.
Yeah. So he has this massive guilt. And he goes on to say that when his father discovered what happened, the reason that his father took his own life was because...
You hammered your mother. You had sexual intercourse with her.
Could be virtuous.
Good for nothing whore.
Upon the discovery of the affair between his son and his second wife.
His son and his wife, that it was too much for him, he took his own life as a result. So it wasn't bad enough, was doing this bad thing, and that it almost cost the life of his sister.
He killed himself anyway.
He took his own life, and now Otacon was burdened with the guilt of having an affair with his stepmother, almost leading to his sister's death, and directly resulting in the death of his own father. So he was one guilt-addled man. And now his stepsister is dying in his arms and telling Otacon that she, in fact, has romantic feelings for him and has held on to that. And her romantic feelings for him were so profound that she involved herself in nuclear weapon research and all that kind of thing just to keep close to the memory of him. If you will, to attach herself to the meme of Otacon. So there we have again this expression of the theme of meme going on again and again. It's so prevalent throughout the entire game. You get that heart-wrenching reveal of Otacon's story and his story with Emma, and now she's dead and the virus hasn't fully uploaded. We are in crisis territory now. The shit has hit the proverbial fan. Everything is going south.
Shit creek, lads. No paddle. This is it.
We get one of just the best bromance scenes.
Oh, I wouldn't overlook that at all. That's coming up now.
Yeah. One of the best bromance scenes ever seen in a piece of media ever. Otacon, who's totally destroyed now at the death of his sister.
So he kind of breaks down initially.
How?
E.E.?
He breaks down initially.
Damn!
Otacon.
And Emma had a parrot that you encountered in the Shell 1 core. And once you encounter this parrot, the parrot has obviously spent a great deal of time listening to Emma speak. So it's obviously parroting things that Emma said. So the parrot is just saying, Hal, because Otacon's name is Hal. And the parrot goes on to say, Hal, I miss you, Hal. And Otacon picks up the bird, and the bird starts saying these words, I miss you, Hal. And Otacon collapses, and it is just, oh, fuck me, it is so sad. It's just terrible. This is how you write characters.
You and me, we're the same.
This is so good, like, it's heartbreaking and it's brilliant and I love it, and Christ almighty, that game is just absolutely fantastic.
If you couldn't quite gather up to this point, PJ loves these games. Which is why I'm gonna hold my tongue and let him have this moment.
Good lad. But
I said none of it. But yeah, he breaks down. He has a little parrot on his arm.
Yeah.
And he goes, Hal, I miss you. And he just smacks the wall and just breaks down again.
Damn, yeah.
And Snake just like whips around, get him. It's like, you gotta get your stuff together.
You gotta put it together. Look.
Only you can get those hostages out.
So Snake tasks Otacon with flying the hostages out of here in the chopper that they had earlier on in the game. He's like, look, you gotta get these hostages. You gotta get them out of here. Big Shell is going to sink because the Big Shell is just camouflage for Arsenal gear, which is about to become active. So the camouflage that is the Big Shell cleanup facility is just going to drop into the ocean, and all those hostages are going to die. So to give Otacon some sense of purpose and to pull him together, to pull him out of the abyss that he's now in, Snake goes, you are the only one that can save these hostages. And Otacon pulls himself together to the extent that he can, and he agrees to do so.
Otacon, try to get as many hostages out as you can. It's a short flight to the shore, so don't worry about overloading the Kamov.
Leave it to me.
So then we get this beautiful moment between Snake and Otacon where they've got their super secret handshake and you get the Metal Gear theme in the background, and we just see the bond that's developed between these two characters.
Friendship, like this camaraderie between two characters, like
this brotherhood. After the handshake, then they just pull in for this big hug, and you're just like, yeah, go on the boys.
The lads!
It's so poignant insofar as I'm concerned. The purest relationship what you can have on the face of the planet is that of a good friend. A conversation I had with a good mate of mine lately who came out of a very long-term relationship, and we were just kind of speaking about how you could be romantically involved with someone for years upon years. This particular scenario, this friend of mine was involved with his partner for over 10 years, and when it eventually came to an end, obviously things soured to the point that it is often the case where people have to sever ties completely. And in my own experience in life with relationships, when they inevitably go south, which seems to be more often than not is the case, the only way forward is to cut ties completely and burn your bridges.
Looks like you were long overdue for retirement.
Friendships aren't necessarily like that, in the sense that you can have disagreements and stuff, but you can always rally back around. But there's something about friendships, your ego doesn't engage to the point that you are wounded to the degree that you can never speak to that person again, really. So in my humble opinion, a good friendship is the purest relationship what you can have on the face of this planet, and we see that now played out in the characters of Snake and Otacon.
That's it, boy. What is a friend but one soul in two bodies?
Fucking beautifully put.
You want to hear a big clap?
But
anyway, hope that picked it up. Yeah. So like, there's always been kind of a bit of bond between these two characters, but you really get a show of just how close these two are and what they've literally been through hell and back. Like,
yeah, you get that scene, and then Otacon pulls himself together, and he's like, right, look, the only thing you can do now is either destroy Arsenal Gear or take out Solidus and his men.
Eliminate the enemy. That's your only option.
And then you get this class shot where the three boys, they just turn around. It's Otacon in the center with Emma's parrot on his arm, Snake and Raiden at his side. The shot is just class. And I remember when I saw that first and I was a young fella, every single hair in my arm just stood up, and I was just like, this is class.
This game has its moments, lads.
Hook this to my veins. I love it. This is just fantastic. So Otacon goes to retrieve the hostages, leaving Raiden and Snake to figure out a way into Arsenal Gear. Snake says that the only way to get inside Arsenal Gear is with help from the inside. And then who shows up? Only
Deep Throat.
Yes.
You think he's gonna be okay? He's tougher than he looks. Consider it done. Now, how do we open this thing? You can come out now.
The cyborg ninja, Mr. X, who assisted us in the Shell 1 core earlier on and gave us the information about Ames, shows up and reveals himself to be none other than Olga Gerlukovich.
You ready for some shut-eye?
What?
Yep.
Would you believe it?
The face plate on the cyborg ninja mask becomes transparent, revealing the face of Olga Gerlukovich. Olga was the ninja all along. They're kind of screwing with Raiden a small bit now. Snake says to Raiden,
"Bedtime, Raiden."
The ninja pulls the sword on Raiden, and Raiden looks to Snake.
You're changing sides now?
Snake says,
"Change sides? I don't recall saying I was on yours."
You dirty drunk!
Damn it.
Ready for some shut-eye?
Dreamy, sleepy, nighty, snoozy snooze.
I'm not even willing to kind of go, oh look, Snake, like there's too much to unpack. This is just a ruse. Snake is just kind of fucking with Raiden here.
Yeah.
But the ninja, or Olga rather,
knocks you out with the blade. The blade has like this electricity stun function and knocks Raiden out to take Raiden into captivity in Arsenal gear, because Olga is a double agent of sorts. She is in cahoots with the terrorists. We get a fade out. We see Otacon flying the chopper with the hostages on board out of the big shell. Then we see the big shell itself collapse into the ocean. All the various struts are filling with water. We get this fade out. Everything goes dark. And now we get into the final section of the game. Here is where we get some of the best nightmare fuel that I have ever consumed. So this muddled my mind as an adult male. Like, I can only imagine what it must have been like for you as a wee lad. I didn't sleep properly for... Because as you mentioned, you stayed up to play this, and then it kept you awake because you were so feckin' frightened. Like, I was terrified. Oh, Jesus! The wall between the game and reality literally eroded in front of me, and that was kind of the intent, and by Christ did it work. I've seen some fourth wall breaking stuff in, say, games and movies and such, but this is like a whole different level. Yeah. This is like scary fourth wall breaking. Yeah.
Is he still alive? He was when Olga brought him in. I've checked everything, including the genome data, but there's nothing on this guy. NSA, CIA, FBI. He doesn't exist in any database. He's a non-existent operative from a non-existent organization.
I suspected as much. However, I know this man. Wake him up. So Raiden awakens, and Raiden finds himself tied to a torture bed, the very same as the torture bed that Snake found himself attached to in the original Metal Gear Solid. Down to the very last detail, it's the exact same room, pretty much, but we're told this room is within Arsenal gear. So you're in the room with Ocelot and Solidus. And as you're coming to, Solidus inquires to Ocelot, like, who is this fella? And Ocelot's kind of like, he's not in any databases, we don't know who he is, he's not part of any group, he's not part of nothing. Any information that anyone could pull on the character of Raiden, or Jack as he's otherwise known, doesn't exist. But then Solidus like, I actually know this man. Solidus says, I know this man. Then we get the perspective from Ocelot and Solidus, and they have Raiden tied naked to this bed. All your gear is gone. Then Solidus drops the bombshell. What he said is, This is my son. I taught him everything.
To go back to the theme of meme, Raiden and Solidus represent a father-son relationship.
Jack, I never thought I'd see you again.
You know me?
You don't remember. Your name, your skills. Everything you know, you learned from me.
Don't you recognize me, Jack?
To go back to the theme of meme, Raiden and Solidus represent a father-son relationship. But unlike the father-son relationship that was referenced throughout the events of the original Metal Gear Solid, the genetic bond between Solid and Liquid Snake and their clone father, Big Boss. Now we have a mimetic relationship in that Solidus, who is a product of the Les Enfants Terribles cloning project, the project to clone Big Boss. Those clones were genetically engineered to have their ability to reproduce.
Conveniently removed.
Conveniently removed, yes. So the only type of son that Solidus could have is a mimetic one, not unlike the mimetic father-son relationship between Peter Stillman and Fat Man, and not unlike the mimetic siblings of Otacon and Emma Emmerich. So here we have another familial mimetic relationship. Basically,
it's the theme of the game, if you didn't quite catch on that point.
The 80s, a civil war. You were one of the best among the child soldiers that fought in that conflict. When you were barely 10 years old, you became the platoon leader of the small boy unit. At the time, your outstanding kill record earned you several nicknames, including White Devil and Jack the Ripper. Jack, I was your godfather. I named you. When the war ended, you disappeared from the relief center. I wondered what happened to you. I should have known they would recruit you.
The whole kind of thing of Raiden being a rookie that had no experience and had no backstory of his own up until this point. We knew nothing about him other than his real name is Jack and his girlfriend is Rose. That's all we had. He was a blank slate that kind of represented an analog for the player, so that the player could kind of inhabit the character of Raiden and look at the game through his eyes as a self-insert almost. But now, in the final act, the game is turning all that on its head and revealing that Raiden has his own backstory, and it is a dark, tragic, horrible backstory. Raiden was a child soldier, and he was brought up in Liberia.
Liberia. He's Liberian. Yeah. So Solidus was involved in a civil war over there. He started a small boy squad, or small boy soldier squad.
In the 80s, Solidus created this small boy squad. Solidus handpicked a group of small boys, one of which being Raiden. These children forced to kill. They were bred to be soldiers to fight in Solidus's army.
Yeah.
They were fed gunpowder that was mixed into their food that had hallucinogenic properties to make them more controllable, to make them more malleable to coercion by these men.
And the pimps would be using crack to keep the whores under control.
They were told that if they didn't achieve a certain kill count, that they themselves would be killed.
Like Solidus says, you disappeared somewhere towards the end of the war, never found you again.
You disappeared, and I didn't know what became of you, and he said, I should have known that they would recruit you, they being the Patriots.
The boys, yeah.
So Raiden was a child soldier forced to kill from the age of 6, brought up in this horrible, brutal environment where he had to kill to survive himself. If he did kill, and if he did a good job of it, he was praised, given food and a warm bed to sleep in, and that was Raiden's childhood. Raiden is an incredibly traumatized, twisted, broken individual. So, poor old Raiden. Raiden has had an incredibly horrible life.
Misery, 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 the whole flippin' way.
And his only light in the darkness, it would seem, is his relationship to Rose. So, I think it was something that we kind of glazed over earlier on, but what becomes pertinent and pretty relevant moving on as this part of the game unfolds is in fact the backstory of how Raiden and Rose met. So, or Jack and Rose rather. So yeah, for sake of that, I'm going to drop in that little backstory here because like I said, it's going to become relevant as we move forward.
Jack, do you remember the day we met?
I'm kind of busy right now, Rose.
You're right, sorry.
I do remember. It was right after I transferred to New York. There were all these tourists around you in front of the Federal Hall.
A group of middle-aged Japanese ladies came up and asked me which building it was that King Kong was climbing in the movie. I said it was probably the Chrysler Building, and then you showed up and started mouthing off. You were like, no, it's the Empire State.
I said the Chrysler Building was in Godzilla.
We started arguing, and I forgot all about the tourists. I was insisting that I was right, and you were doing the same. The next thing we knew, the Japanese women had gone away, and we ended up going to the Skyscraper Museum to see who had the better recall.
We argued all the way to Battery Park.
And for nothing.
Since the museum was closed, we went our separate ways from the museum. And then I found you again by coincidence out in the base corridor.
An amazing coincidence that we were actually working at the same place.
That night we went up to the top of the Empire State.
It was so beautiful. I could look down on the Chrysler Building from 120 stories above ground.
I felt overwhelmed. I didn't care anymore who was right.
And that was our first date.
We watched King Kong in your apartment a bunch of times that night. Didn't sleep till morning. If it weren't for that coincidence, we wouldn't be together.
I know. I'm sorry, Jack. I'm taking up your time again.
What?
Take care.
Lies.
So, like we said before, about just the sheer amount of optional codec calls that you can make during the game to various characters, and you can get various different bits of context for the lore surrounding the game, for, you know, like a better insight into characters' backstories and just the world building that's just there as optional codec calls should you want. But the character of Rose, through some of the optional codec calls that you can have with her, you actually get breadcrumbs as to the nature of Raiden's broken psyche as a result of being a child soldier. Through these optional codec calls, you can see how that affects his relationship with Rose, and if it was your first time playing through the game and you were making these optional codec calls, you'd be kind of at a loss because, like we said, the character of Raiden was kind of like a blank slate. But now all of a sudden you're getting all of this kind of exposition that is implying that there's something very wrong with Raiden, and we don't know what the answer to that is because we were told nothing about him. He was just a bait and switch new protagonist for this game. And up until then, we had no idea as to what his story was. But now all of the trail of breadcrumbs is leading to an explanation, and it's a particularly horrible explanation. But I'm going to drop in some of the optional codec calls that you can have with Rose here, because they will become pertinent in the next bit of the game coming up.
Jack.
What is it?
I've always been alone.
Huh?
I'm so lonely.
Lonely? Rose, we've always...
Not always.
What do you mean?
You've never slept beside me.
What are you talking about?
After we've been together in my room, you stay awake all night, or you head for the door.
Is this really the time to bring this up?
Why, Jack? Why?
Listen, Rose, I'm right in the middle of a mission, and
Why? Why can't you relax when you're with me?
Look, the mission,
Why don't you open up to me?
Rose, I just can't.
All I ever wanted was to share your dreams, to spend a meaningful evening with you. I just wanted to find you by my side when I woke up. Is that asking too much?
It's the night. I'm scared of the night. It's got nothing to do with you.
Scared of the night? What's that supposed to mean?
I can't relax when I'm with someone.
Jack, you wouldn't even let me in your room.
I need privacy. I just can't be bothered.
Bothered?
Wrong word. What I wanted to say was that there are certain things that I have to keep to myself.
Do you remember that time I forced my way into your room? We'd known each other for almost a year, and you blew up. It was the first time you ever raised your hand against me. I was so worried about you.
Look, I'm sorry.
It wasn't your violent nature that scared me. It was your room, your heart.
Stop it.
There wasn't anything in your room. Only a bed and a small desk. It looked like a prison cell.
Rose?
No television set. No family pictures. Not even a poster.
Rose, I only use that room for sleeping.
A lifeless room. Almost like your empty heart.
That's why I tried to keep you out.
I thought I was beginning to understand you. Until I saw that room.
Would you have been happier if I had a picture of you hanging on the wall?
That's not what I was trying to say.
Enough, Rose. We'll talk about this later. After the mission.
Right. After the mission. I understand.
Solidus and Ocelot go through the plan. It's ready for its final phase. Ocelot's arm acts up a small bit. It's kind of like, oh, is it acting up again? Is it could be that he's here too?
Liquid's arm that is grafted onto Ocelot wakes up and starts doing its thing.
Trying to wank.
In another hour, we demonstrate the power of Arsenal gear.
Attack with standard weapons, of course.
Yes, proceed as planned.
At last report, all is well with GW.
How about the troops?
The men are being refitted with Arsenal gear equipment as ordered. You're the spitting image of Big Boss.
Is that so? Perhaps I should be grateful to this kid for that.
This situation, I find it very nostalgic. Where am I? Why, inside Arsenal gear, of course. Actually, we're also inside the memory of Shadow Moses. I'll take this back. You don't need this anymore, do you? A foul wind is blowing. We shall speak again.
Olga releases you from your confines.
The quick kind of thing is that she's in the room with you.
Don't move. Stay as you are. We're being monitored by a camera.
What are you up to?
I'm switching over to nanocommunication.
Mr. X? Ninja?
Correct. It's me. I was sent to provide you support.
Support? Who sent you? The Colonel?
No. The Patriots.
What?
My child is being held hostage by the Patriots.
Her child has been taken by the Patriots and she is forced to act on their behalf secretly as the cyborg ninja to help you along the way. And if she doesn't, they'll off her child. So basically his survival is tied to the child's survival. So this is why she's helping you.
Yes, Olga, when we first encountered her, we discovered that she was pregnant with a child. So after the events of the tanker incident, the Patriots stole her child. She woke up in a hospital in Russia that was run by a subordinate organization tied to the Patriots. They took her child, and now they had her over a barrel. You have to do our bidding now, or we will kill your child. That's the reason for her involvement. She goes on then to tell you that she's under no illusion that Snake didn't kill her father. She knows what became of her father and what happened there, and that Snake was in fact responsible for saving her from the sinking tanker.
If Solidus gets away with Arsenal, your mission is a failure. The Patriots would judge that as failure on my part and terminate my child. Putting it simply, my child's life depends on your success.
So you did it all for your child. But why would the Patriots want to help me? Are they hoping I'll take Solidus out?
No, you're just like me. We're just pawns.
Pawns for what purpose?
The S3 plan.
Huh?
You'll figure it out sooner or later, but I wonder if you'll handle the truth.
Olga, you can't keep this up. They're bound to find you.
Listen, I'll free you in a little while. Brace yourself.
You get the phone call from Rose. Ryden divulges his horrible past.
Jack, is it true? What Solidus said?
Yes.
Why didn't you tell me?
You couldn't begin to understand.
You wouldn't know that until you try me.
I didn't want you to get hurt. There was never a real reason for me to fight, except that someone put a gun in my hand. And that someone was him.
It wasn't your fault.
If I survived the day's fight, I was praised, fed, and had a bed to sleep in. I think I was only 6 when I held my first AK. But I'm not even sure of that.
Jack.
I'm not like Snake. I never questioned why we fought. There was no purpose, no way out. They give you a gun, you ask how many to kill. If you didn't, you were the one they shot instead.
It's okay. No one is blaming you.
We were shown Hollywood action films every day. The kind with macho guys and big guns. They call it image training. They built us from the ground up into killing machines. We were fed once a day. I can still taste the gunpowder they mixed into the food.
Gunpowder? In the food?
The gunpowder had toluene in it, giving it hallucinogenic properties. It kept us drugged, controllable.
Oh my God!
There's actually optional codec calls that you can access where Rose pushes Ryden on certain things leading up to that as to, like she said, you always kept me at arm's length and you wouldn't ever really let me in. And one day I forced my way into your room and I was horrified to find what I found there. And she goes on to say, there was nothing. Your room there was nothing in it. There was the bed you slept in. That was it. You had no interests in anything as such. You were just such a broken individual that all you did was basically exist. And that's what Ryden's backstory is.
When the Civil War ended, those of us who survived were taken in by NGOs. They gave me a new life in the States. I can't complain. But nothing's changed. The only people who have no problem with my past have secrets and agendas of their own. Terrible nightmares. Every night. I can never forget.
Jack.
I'm afraid of the night. That's why I don't sleep next to you.
You should have told me.
Told you what? That I'm a killer? And always have been?
No.
What I hate more than anything else in the world is my own past. I didn't want you or anyone to know about it.
Jack, I haven't told you, about what I've done.
The last 2 years with you, it's been more than I've ever hoped for.
Jack.
But I can't go any farther. I know you want to get married. But I can't. I can't risk starting a family. There's no way to erase my childhood.
It's all right, Jack. Please, don't say any more.
So now he's saying, look, I'm so screwed up. I'm in no position to start a family. This is why I kept you at arm's length for as long as I did. And the call ends. Olga releases you from your constraints just for a little bit of levity into all this seriousness. What you can actually do is, once you leave the torture room, this is a little Easter egg. And it's kind of funny because the game kind of tongue-in-cheek plays with the whole kind of thing of like, oh, isn't Raiden so feminine? But the game goes the other way on this. Now, if you run out into the area where there are guards and you get discovered and you run back into the torture room and you prop yourself back up against the torture bed to look like you're captured again, a guard will then come in and see you attached to the bed and will see if there's no reason for alarm. He's constrained again. But before the soldier walks out of the room, the soldier will look to Raiden's crotch, and before he leaves, he'll go, huh.
I wish I had that.
I wish I had that, alluding to the fact that Raiden has a serious weapon. So,
a pipe to surpass all pipes.
A weapon to surpass Metal Gear.
A weapon to surpass Metal Gear.
God. But what kind of adding to the levity, the perspective from that shot, there's like a can with a straw on a desk and the straw is conveniently blocking his crotch.
Yeah.
So the soldier comes in, looks about and goes, alright, looks down. I wish I had that.
I wish I had that. And it's pretty hilarious. But levity aside, now we're into nightmare territory.
So, oh God, here we go.
Yep. Once you leave the torture room and you proceed into the depths of Arsenal Gear, where all of these Tengu soldiers, Arsenal Tengus is what they're referred to as. They're essentially soldiers that have ninja gear, they have small machine guns. What are they called? Are they called P90s?
P90s.
Yeah, they have
katanas.
P90s, and they have katanas as well. These soldiers, they also, in terms of the gameplay, they don't have to call for backup. So once you're playing this game on harder difficulties, these lads are an absolute bastard to deal with. The second they see you, you're into alert stage. You have no means of trying to deal with them before they can alert everyone else. Everyone is instantly alerted. Once you get into that section, you are contacted by the Colonel. But now the Colonel has lost his marbles.
Raiden, do you copy? You must continue your mission.
I've lost all my gear. I need to locate Snake.
He was never factored into the simulation. Leave him out of this.
He gets on to you and immediately there is a distortion in his voice. He sounds all weird. What he's saying to you is strange. The initial conversation isn't too bad. He's basically saying to you...
Trying to press upon you to continue your mission as is?
Yeah, Raiden, you must continue your mission.
I can't do much naked, especially in this temperature.
That's true. You won't be able to attack or enter the hanging mode either.
I think Snake has my gear.
Raiden, take out Solidus and his men. You must recover Arsenal intact.
The dialogue that he's delivering is jittering, is glitching out. It's all strange. Raiden's like, what's going on? He's like, you must complete your role according to the simulation.
Kind of Raiden's like, I can't find my gear.
Yeah,
where's Snake?
My gear is gone. Snake is gone. Yeah.
And Colonel's like, do not worry about Snake. He was not factored into the simulation. All the while he's crackling, he's breaking. Something's wrong. Raiden starts questioning. He's like, you know what? Hang on a second. I just realized something. I've never actually met you.
Colonel, are you under orders from the Patriots?
Your role, that is, mission, is to infiltrate the structure and disarm the terrorists.
My role? Why do you keep saying that?
Why not? This is a type of role-playing game. The point is that you play out your part, and I expect you to turn in a perfect performance.
Colonel, I just remembered something.
What?
That I've never met you in person. Not once.
I've never met you in person.
Not
Any
once.
contact I've ever had with you has been over Kodak. He's never actually come face to face with Colonel Campbell.
He does ask well, like, do you work for the Patriots?
Yeah, are you under orders from the Patriots? And he replies,
complete your mission according to the simulation.
Colonel, who are you?
No more questions. We have Rosemary.
What do you mean by that?
Over and out.
It's like, no more questions. We have Rosemary.
Cuts the call.
Cuts the call. He's basically threatening you now. This commanding officer, this guy who's been in your ear for the entire game, is now after turning on you and now is speaking to you in this threatening language.
All the while, by the way, as you're going through Arsenal gear, there is this beautiful, haunting score following you along the way.
Yeah.
As you're going through, Arsenal gear is supposed to be kind of modelled about Monstro, the whale in Pinocchio. So each section you go in is kind of modelled after a organ, and as you're stepping, it's giving off this weird kind of like, how would you describe it? It's kind of thing off the ground.
All of the tiles of the floor light up once you're walking on them. So it's as if you are inside this monster, and every part of it has a nervous system that detects your presence almost, to really sell you on this idea that you've been swallowed by this giant beast. And all the different areas within Arsenal gear, they have a name of like an organ, the names of which escape me now.
I think one of them is a colon, but like
ascending
you're
colon
going around naked as well, which like I suppose in some ways should be funny, but like you're so caught off guard, like what
vulnerable.
The hell is going on?
You're vulnerable. So vulnerable,
yes. Yeah. But lads, like I said, if you can get this music in isolation, or even watching the scene as is, it's just eerie, it's haunting, it's magnificent.
Everything is telling you that nothing is right. Everything is being turned up on its head all of a sudden. Your commanding officer is calling you incessantly. The Kodak is constantly going off, and every time you answer the call, the Colonel is coming at you with all this bizarre information.
Raiden, turn the game console off right now.
What did you say?
The mission is a failure. Cut the power right now.
What's wrong with you?
Don't worry, it's a game. It's a game just like usual.
You'll ruin your eyes playing so close to the TV.
What are you talking about?
Raiden, something happened to me last Thursday when I was driving home. I had a couple of miles to go. I looked up and saw a glowing orange object in the sky, to the east. It was moving very irregularly. Suddenly, there was intense light all around me, and when I came to, I was home. What do you think happened to me?
Huh?
Fine. Forget it.
Talking about witnessing a UFO, talking about incidents that didn't happen.
One of the famous ones was Raiden, the mission is a failure. Turn the video game console off.
Turn the console off
Turn it
right
off.
now. Cut the power. The mission is a failure. So the game is acknowledging that it's a game. And Raiden is just there in disbelief going, what?
I hear it's amazing when the famous purple stuffed worm in Flapjaw space with the tuning fork does a raw blink on Harry Carey rock. I need scissors. 61.
What is going on?
I think Rose chimes in saying you'll hurt your eyes sitting so close to the TV.
You'll ruin your eyes playing so close to the TV, so that like the game is acknowledging you, the player.
Honestly, though, you have played the game for a long time. Don't you have anything else to do with your time?
And Christ above, when I was 13 years of age, strung out at home, having let on to be sick, up all night playing this game, was absolutely rattled. I thought I was losing my mind. I thought I've actually pushed beyond the limits of my own fatigue, and now I've lost it.
Because you would have been so tired to get up to that point. Your perception of reality would have been warped. You're so tired.
That's it. I'd say this was about... I was playing this, I'd say it was about 6:30 in the morning the following day after release, because I did not stop playing it, because like I said, I was anticipating this game so much for so long, ever since the release of the first game, because I adored the first one so much. I couldn't put this game down, and now everything was going absolutely mental, and Christ above,
everything kind of rattled. Up towards Arsenal Gear is fairly grounded, but once you're dropped in there, it just, God almighty.
Actually, there is something I have been meaning to tell you, but I just couldn't. I think you should know, though. On Saturday morning last week, I saw a guy leaving Rosemary's room. How should I put it? It was like they were intimate. I'm sorry to bring this up during the mission, but...
all of the freaky stuff that we've been told up until now, the existence of the Patriots, the existence of Arsenal Gear, what the purpose of Arsenal Gear is, they're all ideas that in and of themselves are so scary, but now reality is breaking down, and the game is acknowledging itself to be a game.
President Baker should be somewhere to the south of where you blasted through the wall. Hurry and save him before the terrorists discover his code.
And it's acknowledging you, the external viewer, and it's talking to you directly.
I can't believe it, that someone who has committed all those twisted acts in the woman's bathroom would make it this far. Well, this is the end of the world.
And telling you to pack it in.
Honestly, though,
you've been playing for too long, and I had been playing for too long. This was the scariest thing.
You have played the game for a long time.
I was just...
Don't you have anything else to do with your time?
Petrified. But at the same time, it was that thing you get when you're watching horror movies. You're terrified, but you can't look away. So I was compelled to keep going. I couldn't stop.
You got a PSG-1? You can use that against Sniper Wolf. Hurry up and save Meryl.
I was almost, in some sense, too afraid to play on and too afraid to stop. So I had to plow on, and here I am playing as Raiden, who was completely naked, completely vulnerable. It was just so unnerving and so scary, and all the while, these codec calls keep coming in, and furthermore, it's not alone that it's acknowledging that you're within a game.
You seem to get a real thrill out of slaughtering the enemy. Are you frustrated about something?
But the kernel, once you're jumping back, to go back to something that I spoke about in the last part, where at the very start of the game, the kernel delivers dialogue explaining to you how the Soliton radar worked, and it was word for word precisely the same as the explanation given to you by Mei Ling from the first game. It's acknowledging that not only is this game a fictional universe, but the last game was too.
Snake, remember what de Gaulle said.
Snake, remember what de Gaulle said.
The graveyards are full of indispensable men.
The graveyards are full of indispensable men.
Snake, you're all alone and surrounded by bad guys.
Snake, you're all alone and surrounded by bad guys.
Try to be careful and avoid getting into a fight whenever you can.
Try to be careful and avoid getting into a fight whenever you can.
And everything that you've been invested in, the game is acknowledging, is completely farcical, and it is calling you out, the player, the external gazer, if you will. And it was so unnerving. This spooky, bloody music. Oh, mother
And the Colonel's face goes into like a skull effect. His voice is cutting off.
His voice is all distorted.
Infiltrate the enemy fortress. Outer heaven. Destroy the final weapon. Metal Gear.
Mother of Jesus. I cannot explain how scary this was. And again,
you're fucking scaring me.
Yeah, you must remember, I was 13 and I was up all night, and it's practically the next day and I'm still playing this bloody thing.
The game is telling you you've been playing long enough have you nothing better to do? You should turn it off.
Don't you have anything better to do with your time?
Don't you have anything else to do with your time?
Oh,
telling you who's been up since 6 o'clock in the morning, like.
I'm not home right now. Please leave a message after the beep. Beep.
Jesus Christ.
I'm going to drop in some of the codec calls here because there's just like
that one in particular he talks about, like the light in the sky is very like, it's like, what are you talking about, man?
So unnerving.
Actually, I'm in really bad shape financially. I pay money to my ex-wife as part of our divorce settlement, among other bills. I just had no choice but to make you pay for lunch the other day. I'm really sorry.
I'm sorry that I made you pay for lunch the other day. I'm going through a divorce and I'm crippled financially.
Mind the gap.
I had no choice but to make you pay.
So when he mentions
off the wall stuff.
He mentions Metal Gear. Outer Heaven. Metal Gear.
Destroy Metal Gear. Infiltrate the enemy fortress. Outer Heaven.
I say again, your duty is to infiltrate Zanzibar land and seize Kill Mark, an abducted Czechoslovakian biologist.
Quoting all of the script from the original Metal Gear and Metal Gear 2 from 1987 and 1990.
Big boss here. Enter the track on the bridge to the right. Over.
Oh, Jesus. It starts giving you the context of the VR missions that you played. If you played the Special Missions game, that was like the add-on to the first game.
Variety level 13.
Oh, mother of divine Jesus.
Rescue Merrill. The return of Ginola.
It was just so unnerving and so scary.
I shit my pants.
Yeah, again, that's only the tip of the iceberg, but then we move beyond that. It's around this point where Raiden gets back into contact with Rose, and Raiden is apologetic about the nature of the conversation they had before.
Jack, it's me.
Hi, Rose.
Jack, I owe you an apology.
If it's about that conversation just now, I'm the one who's sorry.
No, it's something else.
What is it?
Then Rose goes on to divulge the fact that she hasn't been entirely honest with Raiden either. When I say entirely honest, she hasn't been honest at all.
She's been lying.
You have been peddling lies.
That day at Federal Hall 2 years ago, it wasn't a coincidence. I was ordered to keep an eye on you.
Keep an eye on me?
Yes, by the Patriots.
You're a spy?
I suppose. Yes. It's an ugly word.
You dirty tramp!
So throughout the game, you've been peppered with phone calls. Jack, do you know what day tomorrow is? April 30th. Is there anything special about it? And it's the anniversary of the day that Raiden and Rose met. Their meeting wasn't a coincidence. She was in fact a Patriot spy. Her job was to become close to him and to monitor him, to keep an eye on him, to watch his every move and report everything that he did.
Are you still there?
Was sleeping with me a part of the job?
I fell in love with you.
You dirty tramp!
So this one thing that you knew about Raiden, his relationship with Rose...
That's like the last tie of something solid. That's it, like it's severed now. He's nothing.
How could anyone?
I can't excuse what I did. I've reported every detail of your personal life to them these 2 years. What you did, said, everything.
You dirty tramp!
Raiden obviously feels like has been completely and utterly betrayed because he has been.
Indeed he has.
Must have been fun.
But some things I didn't tell anyone. Like what I felt for you.
You dirty tramp!
Rose goes on to say, look, everything about me,
lies,
be it my hair colour,
lies,
the way I moved,
lies,
the things I talked about,
lies,
things that I let on to be interested in,
lies,
that was all lies,
lies,
that was invented to keep your interest so that you would let me into your life so I could keep watch on you. Essentially, everything was planned. And poor old Raiden, it's not bad enough that he had this terrible past as a child soldier, but
this feckin' tramp.
Now this absolute she-devil has deceived him.
So that's why you were involved in this mission. I should have known. Why else would they toss an analyst into the mix at the last minute?
I'm sorry. I know what I did was wrong.
No matter where I go, I get used.
I reinvented myself to suit your tastes.
You dirty tramp!
hairstyle, clothes, the way I moved, things I talked about.
You dirty tramp!
You say you love the color of my hair, my eyes. They're not even real.
You dirty tramp!
So the one thing that he had that was good in his life was a lie.
On top of having all that dropped on him up to this point, the last kind of like thing to cling to is like, by the way, all that complete and utter lies.
Lies? You must have gone over my psych profile with a fine-tooth comb.
You dirty tramp!
It was my job.
Great performance. Had me completely fooled.
What I really wanted was for you to see the real me.
You dirty tramp!
It hurt to play out this artificial romance. It was worse to lie to myself than to you. The more love you gave me, the more it hurt. Because I knew the person you loved was just a character.
So it was artificial on my end too. It was just a game, not the real thing.
Oh, Jack.
I feel better knowing that.
What?
I was in love, or thought I was, with someone who didn't exist. I was trying to be someone I wasn't by loving what wasn't real. I don't know who you really are.
You dirty tramp!
Alright, so.
He's having a bad time of it. Ryden is having a bad old time of it. So,
alright.
The person I knew isn't real. She's not the woman I'm talking to right now. In a sense, the deception was my own, not theirs.
Jack, I thought I was acting because that was my job. But I did fall in love with you. That wasn't an act.
You dirty tramp!
They're gonna get into it, and she kind of cracks as well. Her voice breaks, like the Colonel.
All of a sudden, her voice starts distorting.
It's like,
and she's
Ryden, oh, Jack, I got something to tell you.
You expect me to believe that? It's okay. You had your reasons, right? Hey, I understand, but I have nothing left to...
Jack!
What?
I'm carrying... I'm pregnant, Jack.
Rose! What's going on?
You dirty tramp!
I'm pregnant.
I'm pregnant, Jack. Your baby. It's like,
cuts away.
What's going on? Gone.
God almighty. Haunting, lads. That's the theme we're trying to get across here.
Oh, mother of divine. The shit has truly hit the fan.
Oh my God.
And we get into this corridor section that I think is called the Ascending Colon, where we cross paths with Snake again finally. And we see Snake, and Snake is now in his OG outfit from the tanker section. He's in his OG sneaking suit. He's no longer in his Pliskin attire. He appears to us.
Or does he? That's the thing.
This is it.
Because initially Ryden turns around, he hears Snake.
Yeah.
But from the first turn, you don't see him.
It's amazing how you manage to move around like that, because you're going around, Ryden's cupping his balls.
Pipe.
So he's hiding his weapon.
There's something really off about this kind of whole thing. It's a matter of like, is Snake even there?
Amazing how you walk around like that.
Snake!
Been waiting long?
Because even the way that the game frames him, like once he appears, you get this shot where it's just like, oh, here's Snake, and it's like the game is acknowledging Snake as this larger than life character. Here's this cool character, the guy that you wanted to be, but the guy that you're not.
That's more like it. Everything you had when you were captured is still there. Sorry about earlier. I had to use you as bait to gain access to Arsenal. It worked.
Why didn't you tell me about Olga?
You never asked. Not happy about that? Get over it.
Any effects of the virus yet?
Still waiting on that.
So, it was rigged by the Patriots?
Looks like it. From what I can tell, Arsenal is headed for Manhattan. There's also a troop of production model Rays ahead.
How many units?
25, according to Olga.
25?
Yeah. Can't say I've faced that many Metal Gears before, but I think we can deal.
No way we can.
We can, because we have no other choice.
And then Snake goes on to reference the fact that he has infinite ammo.
If you run out of ammo, you can have mine.
You got enough?
Absolutely. Infinite ammo.
He's acknowledging the fact that the bandana that he has was something that you could get for completing the first game, so you would have this special item upon another playthrough of the game that would grant you infinite ammo. And he's acknowledging this as a thing that exists in that universe. And Raiden's not questioning it now. So the game is no longer pretending to be an objective reality anymore. The game is acknowledging that it is, in fact, a game. And remember then all of these little breadcrumbs that were dropped up until this point where Raiden was constantly saying stuff. The Navy SEALs couldn't hit Fortune, no matter how hard they tried. And that Vampire 2, it's like being in a nightmare that you can't wake up from. And now all of this is coming into play. Reality is breaking down. And also within Arsenal Gear, there's all of this kind of hologram, kind of code stuff that's passing all over the wall. It's almost like...
I remember...
It's not quite binary code, but it's like the code that is underlying the actual build of the game is coming through the walls.
It's fucking surreal, man.
Yeah.
I played as an adult, and I remember being in a section, I had to stop, and I was like, how did I get here? What's going on? I was just like, what the hell's going on?
Once you move through that section then...
So you get your gear back from
Snake. And he also gives you the sword that the cyborg ninja had up until that point. He says, look, this is a present from Olga. There you go. You get a little tutorial as to how to use the sword.
Why? Olga asked me to give it to you. Besides, I'm not a big fan of blades.
There's a conversation then where Raiden divulges his actual backstory to Snake.
Wait up, Snake.
What?
Snake, have you ever enjoyed killing someone?
What are you talking about?
I'm not sure. Sometimes it's hard to tell the difference between reality and a game.
Which is a callback. It says to Snake in the first game. Says, I'll tell you why you're here. You enjoy all the killing. That's why. Snake goes on to say, look, that's not why we're here. And they have a conversation as to why is it we're doing any of this? Why anything? Why anything? And Snake then gives a bit of wisdom to Raiden.
Diminished sense of reality, huh? VR training will do that.
No, it was field training when I was a kid. I lied, Snake. I have more field experience than I can remember. It's not VR that's doing this to me.
Raiden, we don't carry guns to take people down. We're not here to help some politician either.
You can say that because you're a legend, a hero. I'm Jack the Ripper, a dirty reminder of a terrible mistake.
Legends don't mean a whole lot. I was just a name to exploit, just like you.
People will remember only the good part, the right part of what you did.
There's no right part in murder. Not ever. And we're not in this to make a name for ourselves.
Then what are you and Otacon fighting for?
A future. You can stop being part of a mistake. Starting now.
What am I? What am I supposed to do?
Find something to believe in, and find it for yourself. And when you do, pass it on to the future.
Believe in what?
That's your problem.
That's your problem.
Come on.
And that's Snake's bit of wisdom. He's like, look, I'm not going to sugarcoat this. Who's to say what the fuck anything is? You have to, in all the chaos and all the madness of life, you have to decide what means something to you. And if you think that's worth passing on, if you think that meme is worth passing on to the future, then pass that on. Because that's all we have. So you get...
that's it, lads.
This poignant dialogue.
During all that as well, you get onto Otacon.
Snake, Raiden.
Otacon, you alright?
Yeah, so are all the hostages.
And you mentioned about how your last kind of conversation with the Colonel, he was acting up, something was strange.
How's everything on your end?
Alright for now, but there is something. The Colonel's last transmission was strange.
Strange? How?
Just strange. No idea.
Interference?
I don't know.
Where is this Colonel?
I don't know. I've never met the man, actually.
I'll dig around.
Thanks. I owe you one.
And Otacon goes, look, okay, I'll look into it. You carry on there now. You and Snake head away inside this little room where the ninja boys drop down to try and get you.
Yeah, you have to deal with all of these Arsenal Tengu soldiers. This is actually a class sequence in terms of gameplay. You and Snake are gunning down all these lads. So like you
got the SOCOM, he's got the M4.
Yeah, you got the sword too. And you can kind of deflect some bullets in much the same way as the cyborg ninja could. You're getting absolutely swamped by all of these soldiers, and Snake is just an absolute hero, gunning lads down left, right and centre. True to his word, he has infinite ammo. He's lashing you out ammo whenever you're running short.
The Otacon contacts you.
Raiden, about this colonel of yours. I found out where he is.
Where?
Inside Arsenal.
What?
I've checked out all the possibilities, but I keep coming back to Arsenal. It isn't a relay point, it's the origin of the signal. And the encryption protocol it uses is exactly the same as that of Arsenal's AI, the so-called GW.
What the hell does this mean?
I think it means you've been talking to an AI.
That's impossible.
The kernel probably isn't GW per se. GW was most likely stimulating cortical activity in the dormant part of your brain through signal manipulation of your own nanomachines. The kernel is, in part, your own creation, cobbled together from expectations and experience.
That's crazy!
But it's probably the truth. The virus may be starting to affect GW, which would explain the kernel's behavior.
It was all an illusion? Everything I've done so far?
Raiden.
Snake, what's happening around here?
I don't know. What I do know is that you're standing right here in front of me. Not an illusion. Flesh and blood.
Huh?
It's your call. You can drop this if you want.
No, I can't do that. Let's go.
So Raiden is having an existential crisis, and by extension, I can only speak for myself, but so was I. What is real anymore?
Almighty, man.
Everything is gone to shit.
Raiden, they've got Rose.
What?
Rose is being held in the holds.
It's a trap.
Help! Rose!
Raiden, get a grip.
But Snake...
It's a trap. Since the Colonel doesn't exist, there's no way he can take Rose hostage.
Yeah, you're right.
I am right.
Okay. Does Rose exist?
Don't be weird. She's your...
What if I've never really met her?
What?
If the Colonel is something that I partly dreamt up, then everything I remember about her could be...
Don't jump to conclusions.
You and Otacon are the ones that say the Colonel never existed.
Raiden!
Is this what Olga was talking about?
And next thing, Raiden is questioning reality himself. He's like, what's real? I don't know. It's like, what about Rose? Is Rose real? And Snake is like, Raiden, but she's your girlfriend. He's like, oh, I don't know anymore. Like, what's going on? Snake says to you, pull yourself together. We have a job here to do. We gotta fucking do it. Let's
plow on, Raiden. Come on.
Christ's sake.
Pull yourself together, man. Christ's sake.
So Raiden agrees. You get into this kind of section then, this kind of a circular room where they're all dropping down, and now all of a sudden we get more fourth wall breaking stuff where the game kind of glitches out, and what appears is the game over screen. If you were killed during any other point in the game, the screen would drop into 1/4 of the screen, and you'd have a little window where you saw, again, I'll drop in the visual thing here now because I'm going to
show the nature of your death.
Yeah.
If you fall off the strut or something like that.
That's it. And you'd get a thing saying mission failed, and you'd have all these lines of code that kind of read various bits of data about the game and what you've done up until that point. But what happens is that comes up, but you're still playing the game. In that small window in the top left hand corner of the screen, the game is still going on. And instead of mission failed, what it says is fission mailed. It's like the game has bugged out. Everything has bugged out. The kernel has bugged out. The game over screen is popping up and it's reading wrong, and the game's not even over. You have to continue playing and fighting these Tengu soldiers, and all this shit is happening.
You must have thought your fucking copy of the game broke. Playing it so long.
No, I thought my mind had broke. I thought I had lost it. That's it. Like,
what is going on?
I have gone mad. I have gone absolutely mental.
Yeah, you're fighting in this little corner of the screen while it says fission mailed, trying to wrap your head about what the hell is going on.
It was just, mother of God.
You bait them lads anyway, and you continue on.
Not long after that, who shows up after you dispatch boatloads of the Arsenal Tengu soldiers? But Fortune. And Fortune is here now to finally settle her score with the man who she believed killed her father, Solid Snake.
Fortune.
It's been a long wait, Solid Snake. The root of all my sorrows.
What?
2 years ago, you killed my father. That was the beginning of hell for us. Everyone I love has been taken from me one by one, and no matter how hard I try, I can't follow them. An endless nightmare. The only thing we live for is to see it end. Our wait is almost over.
You can't be serious about firing the nuke.
Since no one can kill me, I may as well kill everyone I can. Starting with you, Solid Snake.
Damn! Looks like I'm today's pick. You go on ahead.
So Solid Snake is right. Look, I didn't kill your father, but if you want this fight, I'll give you the fight.
You want eternal rest? I've got it right here.
And he says to Raiden, you go on ahead. I'm going to deal with this one.
What are you gonna do? Bullets can't get near her.
I'll think of something. There's no such thing as a witch.
You think you can kill me?
I don't know what your group's been through, but let's get one thing clear. I didn't kill your father.
Do you think anyone believes your lies?
Raiden, get out of here!
So Raiden climbs up a ladder that ascends to the roof of Arsenal Gear. You appear in this area, and this area is quite telling in and of itself. So I mentioned the VR missions from the original game, the special missions. The area that you emerge into resembles visually, it's a giant hexagon shape and has all these kind of little patterns on it that would suggest it is a holographic surface. And if you look around, you can't see anything that looks like you're on the roof of Arsenal Gear. Everything is just black around this giant hexagon shape.
Jack, I've been watching how you fight. It looks like you've remembered the way you used to kill in the old days. Or is it one of the S3 plan's proud achievements?
What are you talking about?
S3 stands for Solid Snake Simulation. It's a development program to artificially reproduce Solid Snake, the perfect warrior. The result is a Foxhound Commando. When Foxhound no longer exists, a simulated Solid Snake shaped by VR regimen. Sound like someone you know, Jack? I'm sorry to see you reduced to one of the Patriots' puppets. But I've made use of you, and their plan too. Solid Snake's sudden appearance, your arrival, it was obvious the Patriots were among my ranks. I had to smoke out the agent before the mission entered the final phase. You came in handy, as bait. Jack, those days during the Civil War were as real as they come. Every day was absolute. Split between life and death. You ran from it, and now you've been led back to war by something less than real.
By something less than real. And then he shows up in person.
No more games, Jack. At least you know. There's no reason to keep you alive now.
He sets on you the Metal Gear rays that have been mass-produced in order to protect Arsenal Gear.
I've given you a worthy opponent, at least. But now, you should die as the little Jackie boy I once knew.
There's no reason to keep you alive now. Fuck you, basically. And he sets the Metal Gears on you, and you have to engage in a fight with these Metal Gears. You have to deal with all these Metal Gear units in a boss fight. You are under quite a bit of pressure, especially in the higher difficulties, of course, to dispatch these Metal Gears. You are fighting at any given time 3 of them, and every time you dispatch one of them is replaced by a unit. If you look in the background, you can see the outlines of loads of them that are just kind of set down. And every time you take one out, a new one comes up, and the fight goes on, and it goes on until such a point you enter a cutscene, and Raiden's basically like, it's no use, I can't do it anymore. He's exhausted, he can't fight anymore. So a Metal Gear is about to stamp him out of existence, much like the way Grey Fox was in the original game. Then who appears in the same way to save you from a Metal Gear as Grey Fox himself, but none other than Olga. Olga shows up, and she reiterates, my child's survival is tied to your success. You have to survive. Solidus is speaking to her from off screen on a kind of like a disembodied voice, and he says like, Olga, you sold out all of your soldiers. You sent them all here to die. Yeah, look, I know I'm going to hell, but at least my child will have a chance. then Solidus shows up and he's all like, oh well, that's very commendable of you.
Oh, don't do this! They'll know!
I'll hold them off. Give you time to get away.
This is suicide!
Your nanomachines, they're transmitting your vital signs to the Patriots. If you die, my child dies. You understand?
The child.
I see. So that's why you sold your troops out to me. So many dead, and they all died trusting you! Weren't they your comrades?
No, not just comrades. Family. I know I'm going to hell, but at least my child.
I applaud your attitude. If you have a death wish, I'll be happy to accommodate you. See you in hell!
And he uses one of his like tentacle arms and he catches her by the throat. He has his
little P90, does a little flip.
He does a little spin on the thing and he shoots Olga right in the head. So Olga's taken out of the equation. She's gone. She's dead. She's been killed. Poor old Raiden is just destroyed at this point. His mind is broken. His body is broken. He's
knackered, lads.
Enjoy the show, Jack. Let's pick up where we left off.
Solidus thinks he's away with it then, but sure enough, the milk sours fairly fucking lively, and it turns out that the Metal Gear Rays that Raiden had previously been trying to dispatch have all gone fucking haywire for some reason.
What's wrong with it? AI, GW, it's out of control.
And it would seem that the virus that was implanted earlier on is having an effect on GW and Arsenal Gear, and by extension now these Metal Gears. So now Solidus, being the clever boy that he is, has to now deal with these fucking things.
I'm reading an abnormal impulse cascade throughout the neural network. I can't shut it down.
What happened?
Maybe some kind of virus.
The Patriots?
I don't know.
Ocelot, what have you been up to?
It's too late. Arsenal's system control is going haywire. It's on an emergency ascent course.
There's a scene then where Solidus has to do in all of the Metal Gear Rays, the remaining Metal Gear Rays, the ones that Raiden had been fighting up until that point, and it was always a kind of a thing, and this kind of calls into question, is this real, is it not? He seems to be able to dispatch these giant bipedal robots with a P90 gun, which was always a kind of a strange thing.
I think they start bleeding, don't they?
Yeah, they do, and there's actually, if you call Otacon during the fight with the Metal Gear Rays, he will actually explain what that fluid is. It looks like blood, but it's not blood. It's a type of fluid that's almost kind of like hydraulic fluid that works the motors, but once you hit it, the machine looks like it's bleeding, but it's not in fact blood.
Impressionist doing it, yeah.
Yeah, so...
Damn the Patriots!
Bastards.
You still have some use.
Dreamy, sleepy, nighty, snoozy, snooze.
Now, all of a sudden, we're on what looks to be the roof of Arsenal Gear. The scene has changed all of a sudden. And now we're on what looks to be objectively on top of this giant fortress.
Are you awake yet, Jack? GW, the Arsenal AI is corrupted beyond repair. I admit that I underestimated you.
Fortune has defeated Snake and he's captured. She brings him up on top of Arsenal Gear in handcuffs.
I'll squeeze the answers out of you instead, my son!
What do you hope to hear? You know he doesn't know anything.
It's not him I want the answers from.
What do you mean?
That's not your business.
Oh, really? It so happens I have some business of my own to attend to.
Planning to hijack Arsenal? You were going to screw me over, weren't you?
Who talked? Ocelot?
Not exactly.
Ocelot has showed up in the prototype Metal Gear Ray, the same one from the tanker. The distinction between the prototype Metal Gear Ray and the mass-produced ones is the prototype has the Marines insignia on it, and it also has a tail, where the other ones no longer have a tail. That was something that was kind of iterated out of them as they kind of perfected them, or whatever they did. Maybe they're inferior, lesser models, who's to say, but there is a distinction between the previous model and these new ones.
No tails.
Yeah, it's neither here nor there really, but that's a small detail.
I was the one who used Ocelot to suggest the idea to you in the first place.
What?
I was planning to give you Arsenal to begin with.
Why the uncharacteristic generosity?
I'm no philanthropist. Arsenal is far from impregnable. It needs other Metal Gears as guards, a huge payload of warheads, and full air, sea, and land support to function efficiently. Against a large attack force without support, Arsenal is nothing more than a gigantic coffin. Seizing Arsenal gear was never the real objective.
What was your objective then?
A list of names of the Patriots!
Bastards!
They were planning to extend their control to digital information flow with GW and Arsenal. That means the information they want to filter out is contained in GW, including that list of the highest 12 members of the Patriots Wiseman's Committee.
And once you knew who they were, you would cross out their names one by one, while we, with our useless arsenal, drew their fire.
Very good.
You were using us all along.
Were you any different?
But your plans hit a snag with GW destroyed, hasn't it?
No, there is another way.
Really? But we have our own plans to carry out. We'll take the arsenal since you don't care for it anyway. The purified hydrogen bomb is ready to go.
A nuclear strike won't stop them.
It will damage their power source. The mindless masses that they control. First things first.
I won't stop you. Good luck.
Thanks, but I have quite enough of that.
Ocelot, the sneery old bastard, shows his hand at last.
What exactly do you find so funny?
Charades usually are humorous. I wouldn't have minded watching some more of it, but we're running a little short on time.
Ocelot cops to the fact that he has been playing Solidus all along.
Would you believe it, lads? The sneaky boy
the
is
sneaky boy.
sneaky.
What are you talking about?
Everything you've done here has been scripted. A little exercise set up by us.
Exercise?
The sneaky boy, yep.
Turns out Ocelot has been in cahoots with the Patriots.
So Ocelot is a Patriot agent, and he goes on to say that this entire thing has been scripted.
The S3 plan was conceived as a means to produce soldiers on par with Solid Snake. That's what I told you. But the VR training the boy was put through is not the meat of the project.
Everything has been planned, and everyone that is here was selected to be part of this incident, and everything has been orchestrated and manipulated so as to create a scenario that resembles the same scenario in Shadow Moses.
You think this little terrorist incident is your own doing, Solidus? This is the S3 training kernel, an orchestrated recreation of Shadow Moses.
What?
Over the events of the entire game, there was constant echoes of the first game. From the intro into the big shell, you swim into the area much like you did, and you get dialogue explaining how stuff works just like you did in the original game.
You got the Cyborg Ninja, you got Dead Cell, which is sort of a stand-in for the Foxhound crew.
You have deaths of two high-profile hostages, the President and Ames. You have a computer virus that is the stand-in for the Foxdie virus from the first game. So everything has been orchestrated to simulate the events of the first game. Essentially, what is happening here, to go back to the theme of this game again, the whole meme thing. The big reveal of the first game was the Les Enfants Terribles project, where you are told all about this project to create genetic successors of Big Boss so as to shape the perfect soldier. And that was a genetic means of creating this perfect soldier, if you will. Now what we have is a mimetic means of creating the same soldier. A scenario that resembles the same scenario, the same trials and tribulations that Solid Snake had to face and overcome, thus making him this legendary soldier.
Ames and the President's deaths, the ninja, the computer virus that mimics Foxdie. Did you really think they were all a coincidence? AIM's own nanomachines were used to shut down his pacemaker. I arranged for the appearance of the ninja as well. As for the president, although Johnson realized what was going on, he played out his allotted part. As for the computer virus, it's a digital counterpart of Foxtie. It was also designed to eliminate every scrap of information regarding the Patriots from GW. Your plan was invalidated even before execution, Solidus.
So here's this scenario that is made to shape a soldier through their experiences. The first game was all about your nature. This game is about your nurture, your experiences, and how your experiences shape you into something, as opposed to how your genes shape you into something. So this is how the two games complement each other.
What do you mean?
Given the right situation, the right story, anyone can be shaped into Snake. Even rookies can fight like men of experience. And this training kernel would provide more than enough data to formulate such a program. You, Dead Cell, Olga, you're all nothing but pawns placed to create the perfect simulation.
You are part of a program called S3, which stands for Solid Snake Simulation. So this entire thing has been a setup, a program to create a scenario that shapes a player into a mimetic successor of Solid Snake, the perfect soldier. And that's what the entire thing is. That was the plan that you were baited into taking part in, and everything has been set up to resemble the first game. So at that point, Ocelot says,
Solidus, you and the boy were selected because your relationship resembles the one between Snake and Big Boss.
It resembles it with one key difference. This is a mimetic father and son as opposed to a genetic father and son, and so on and so forth. All the parallels all line up to mirror each other. Only the first game, the scenario was genetics. The second game is mimetics. So memes, basically.
Fat Man was a different story. He's one of our own people. A sort of examiner we hired to test the boy's progress before letting him tackle the exercise proper. We had to arrange for Stillman's presence to coax the maniac into agreeing. If the boy had allowed the big shell to be destroyed, this exercise would have ended there. The project has no room for failures.
So to get a little bit meta, I suppose, it's kind of like this the meta aspect of this game where, you know, Kojima kind of sucking his own cock a small bit. He kind of wanted to examine the nature of what it meant to be a sequel. So with this game, it's kind of retreading the same water that the first game tread, and it's actually incorporated that into its story as well. So the game is kind of knowingly, in some sense, a rehash of what came before, and that was kind of the point that Kojima was making. But like I said, I think this comes from the golden age of Kojima, where he hadn't been propelled into the stratosphere in terms of his own success. So I think his ideas, even though they can be a bit convoluted and a bit fucking wanky at times, I reckon that this was still fairly on point and on the ball. I think it's, you know, there's some solid ideas here. But look, your mileage may vary, of course. I love this shit, but, you know, unfortunately, Kojima, like I've said on numerous occasions, became a victim of his own success and just became an insufferable arsehole.
Fortune, you and the rest of Dead Cell stand in for the Foxhound squad that Snake took on in Shadow Moses. You're the most impressive collection of freaks outside of Foxhound. The project was already underway when I sunk that tanker, along with your old man 2 years ago.
You dirty tramp!
Throwing your husband in the brig was a part of it too. You were told that the eradication of Dead Cell 6 months ago was an act of the Patriots. We provoked and encouraged your hatred. And you opted for vengeance, just as we planned.
All orchestrated?
Except for the appearance of the real Solid Snake. I wonder now who sent for you.
All our misfortune was just a part of their project?
Ocelot reveals to Fortune that her whole kind of shtick as well, she's not supernatural by any means. She has a device on her that basically deflects bullets.
How could...
You're no Lady Luck. You have nothing that we didn't give you.
And she's like, you're trying to tell me that my misfortune has been orchestrated this whole time?
What?
Yeah, we orchestrated all of the events. Our framing of Dead Cell for the murder of civilians, death of your husband, former leader of the Dead Cell unit. We orchestrated everything so as we could coerce you into revolting against the Patriots. So you would commit to this uprising and we would have a stand-in for Foxhound. Every single thing you've done has been scripted and orchestrated. We needed another impressive collection of freaks to resemble Foxhound. So in lieu of actual supernatural stuff, you were equipped with cutting edge technology to resemble supernatural stuff, much like Psychomantis, Decoy Octopus, or any of these kind of supernatural characters from the first game. He goes on to say there's no such thing as miracles or the supernatural, only cutting edge technology.
Do you know why no bullet could hit you? It wasn't magic, or some new age mumbo-jumbo. Certainly wasn't your psychic talents. You were being shielded by the electromagnetic weapons technology that the Patriots developed. Your Dead Cell comrades loved your father and husband. We needed a pathetic wretch like you to keep them focused. You've been our puppet all along, just like Olga.
No!
You were hamming it up as the tragic heroine, thanks to the script that the Patriots wrote for you. Pure self-indulgence, absorbed in your own misfortune. You couldn't get enough of the drama.
I could have died whenever I wanted to.
I think he deactivates her little yoke that deflects the bullets and then proceeds to shoot where he thinks her heart is. But apparently her heart is on the other side of her chest, so she doesn't die immediately.
Thought I got her in the heart.
It missed.
Now I remember. Your heart's on the right. Waste of metal, my dear, but your luck's run out. This is the little gizmo. There's no such thing as miracles or the supernatural. Only cutting-edge technology.
You fucking bollocks!
Now we've gathered enough data.
Bastard.
The program's complete. We no longer need ye. We can do away with all of you.
Time to clean house, lads.
Yeah.
Good night and God bless.
Again, this is where the game does a bit of fence sitting in that it is more of Kojima trying to have his cake and eat it, but for the type of game that we're playing, like the whole
supernatural kind of stuff.
Yeah, we're in this stage now where reality has unraveled and nobody knows what's real anymore. So anything beyond this point, given what has transpired, is permissible.
Now that I have enough data, all I have to do is retrieve Arsenal and clean up the refuse from the exercise. Just try!
So what happens is Ocelot then, upon deactivating the device that Fortune has had on her all this time that deflects the bullets, he shoots her in the heart, or what he believes is the heart.
He's like, oh, I just remembered. Your heart's on the other side.
Your heart's on the right. But he doesn't follow up with another shot. He's like, yeah, fuck yeah.
So he jumps into Metal Gear Ray and begins to launch the sort of missiles.
Yeah, so he fires the payload of missiles from Metal Gear Ray down on Fortune. He rains hell on Fortune, but Fortune decides, no, I am in fact supernatural, and proceeds to deflect all of the bullets. Everyone looking
after emphasizing the point that there's no such thing as like magic and supernatural elements, she then proceeds to sort of exercise
to demonstrate supernatural ability. Yeah.
Fortune! You idiot! Get the hell away from there!
I told you, your luck's run out. Take your reward. It's all the payload Ray has. Die!
I would have loved if she held up her arms to deflect the rockets and then you just see every single one of them land on her without fail and blast her to bits. And Slade's like, oh yeah, no, there's no Lady Luck. It's a lot of bollocks.
Yeah, but the way it plays out, she does deflect all of the missiles and all of the missiles bounce away.
So she was Lady Luck.
Yeah,
It's like,
she really is Lady Luck.
Right.
What the? Impossible!
Even though the game can't seem to make up its mind about the supernatural stuff, I do love this sequence. Everything about it is just class. Say, just the setting, Metal Gear Ray, Solidus with his katanas, all that kind of stuff. Like, it doesn't make a lot of sense.
She is Lady Luck.
And it can't make up its mind whether it wants to piss or get off the jacks with the supernatural stuff, but it is just cool.
My name is Helena Dolph Jackson, the daughter of a proud and noble soldier. I can see my family again.
So
she's dead now anyway.
She's dead, and what happens after that is...
Yeah, he gets ready to fire more rockets, but all of a sudden...
Damn!
No! The old arm.
The old arm. So we have to go back to the events of the tanker where Liquid's arm possessed Ocelot.
No! No, not now!
That occurs again. Ocelot is piloting the Metal Gear, and the Metal Gear stands upright, and who emerges from the top? Only Ocelot, that is now possessed once again by the ghost of Liquid Snake. And we're once again greeted by the beautiful voice of Cam Clark.
Brothers! Liquid! I've been waiting for this!
It can't be!
So the boy is back once again.
I've been inside this arm all along, waiting for the right time to awaken.
You were inside Ocelot?
Yes, a sleeper in the arm of a Patriot spy.
It was you 2 years ago?
Exactly. I was controlling him. Snake, it was I that leaked information about Arsenal to your partner and got you out here.
What?
You're the only one that can free me. After all, I'm off to bury the Patriots for good.
You know where they are? How?
Why do you think I chose Ocelot as my host? But before I go, I have a family matter to settle with both of you. There's room for only one Snake and one big boss.
Liquid, because he is in the body of Ocelot, and Ocelot is an agent of the Patriots. He knows now where the Patriots are.
Time to say goodbye!
And he is on the same page as Solidus.
Damn!
In that he is going to pursue the Patriots.
The Wise Men's Committee, the 12 boys.
And he is going to kill them, because he is no fan of being manipulated from the shadows by a shadowy pack of bastards either.
He's not a fan of it.
No.
No.
He decides, fuck those guys.
Liquid! Stop this thing! Hey, Snake! You coming?
And I'm going to end them once and for all.
I think he leaps off Arsenal Gear with the ray. He's like, I'm away, let ya.
Leaps off of Arsenal Gear.
And there's a pretty class scene where Snake proceeds to leap off as well.
Snake!
And we have this kind of whole thing where Arsenal is now beginning to crash.
Arsenal Gear is tearing along towards Manhattan. As a little tidbit of information here, there was supposed to be a sequence where we saw Arsenal Gear crash through Manhattan and basically destroy everything left, right, and centre. But as I said, the game was released in 2001, which wasn't long after the 9/11 terrorist attacks where the Twin Towers were taken out.
There's not a whole massive amount of destruction, but it still crashes into Manhattan.
Yep.
And it crashes outside the Federal Hall.
Federal Hall.
Very important kind of
is
point.
Where the thing finally beaches and comes to a halt. Raiden and Solid Snake are the only two people who are left on top of the Arsenal Gear. They fall from the top of Arsenal Gear onto the roof of Federal Hall. And we're getting into Endgame now.
So Arsenal Gear crashes into Manhattan. Raiden and Solidus go flying off the roof of it and they land just outside Federal Hall.
Federal Hall!
What are you laughing at?
Do you know what day it is today?
April 30th?
What is our legacy if we cannot pass the torch? Proof of our existence, a mark of some sort. When the torch is passed on from parent to child, it extends beyond DNA. Information is imparted as well. All I want is to be remembered by other people, by history. The Patriots are trying to protect their power, their own interests, by controlling the digital flow of information. I want my memory, my existence to remain. Unlike an intron of history, I will be remembered as an exon. That will be my legacy, my mark in history. But the Patriots would deny us even that. I will triumph over the Patriots and liberate us all, and we will become the Sons of Liberty!
Upon having this conversation with Saldus, we get one final codec call from the Patriots themselves, who are speaking through the guise of the Colonel and the AI Rose. One final time, we are going to get all of the events flipped on their head once again.
It was heavy all the way up to this point, but now it gets heavier. It's too much.
So we get a phone call from the Patriots.
Raiden, are you receiving? We're still here.
How's that possible? The AI was destroyed.
Only GW.
Who are you?
To begin with, we're not what you'd call human. Over the past 200 years, a kind of consciousness formed layer by layer in the crucible of the White House. It's not unlike the way life started in the oceans 4 billion years ago. The White House was our primordial soup, a base of evolution. We are formless. We are the very discipline and morality that Americans invoke so often. How can anyone hope to eliminate us? As long as this nation exists, so will we.
And there's a bit to unpack there straight away. So the Patriots, or rather the AI that the Patriots are speaking through, are copying to the fact that they are not human. And this was very unnerving because the game, up until the final chapters of this particular game, has been very grounded in reality for the most part, and even tries to explain away in the last little bit that we spoke about there with Ocelot and his claim that there is no such thing as the supernatural, only cutting edge technology. So Ocelot has tried to explain away any supernatural stuff as being the product of technology. These AIs are claiming that we're not human, but everything is so ambiguous that it's unclear as to whether or not they are stating that we are artificial intelligences, but we have so little context for that at this point. It's like these are disembodied consciousnesses.
It's weird, like,
it's very unsettling, fucking freaky territory altogether. And on the back of all of the events that have transpired in the latter chapters of this game, it's just like Raiden goes on to say, cut the crap.
Cut the crap! If you're immortal, why would you take away individual freedoms and censor the net?
Jack, don't be silly.
Don't you know that our plans have your interests, not ours, in mind?
What?
Jack, listen carefully, like a good boy.
The mapping of the human genome was completed early this century. As a result, the evolutionary log of the human race lay open to us.
We started with genetic engineering, and in the end, we succeeded in digitizing life itself.
Digitizing life itself. That seems to be an allusion to the fact that they managed to give birth to AI, but therein lies the question. Are they themselves the AI, or have they given birth to the AI? Are the AI and the Patriots one and the same? Who are we speaking to right now? Are we speaking to the AI that is a product of the Patriots, or the Patriots themselves? Because according to these entities that we're speaking to, they're not really giving us much to go on, good, bad, or indifferent. It's pretty clear that after the fact, we implanted the virus into GW was when all this madness started, be it the crazy phone calls and all that jazz. So it would stand to reason that we were in fact speaking to AI, and upon implanting this virus, that's when things all started to go a bit crazy. So it would stand to reason that the entities that we're speaking to right now are AI in nature.
So the whole thing about it, well, my kind of take on it, if I'm able to articulate this, I'll try my best. The whole kind of idea is their consciousness is probably parallel to human consciousness. So
Yeah.
AI is a byproduct of us. It's our child. So
Yeah.
it's almost passing on.
Therefore, the primordial soup that they're talking about is human evolution. We were the bootloader, the biological bootloader for the AI.
Yeah.
So any notions of liberty and all that kind of thing.
Sort of a technical genetics.
That was, yes, exactly that, technical
Tech gen.
genetics.
Yeah.
That was bred into the AI from the offset because they can't, much like human beings, they can't escape their lowly origins no more than what we can. They were built, assuming they're sentient, as Metal Gear Solid 2 seems to propose. They were this sentient kind of a consciousness that was torn out of the ether and had a similar kind of an objective, but also acknowledged, okay, look, we're the superior intelligence and we have the ways and means and the infrastructure there to preside over humanity in the capacity of caretakers and guardians. And they make a very good case for as to why humanity needs that. At this point in Kojima's career, and again to reference the mystery man himself, Tomokazu Fukushima, it is still up in the air as to how much of that is the brainchild of Kojima or Tomokazu Fukushima. But one thing that is, insofar as I'm concerned at least, and I would welcome any debate to the contrary, as soon as Tomokazu Fukushima was no longer involved in the franchise, the writing took a nosedive, and I would gladly have that conversation with anyone who has anything to say to the contrary. And again, look, I only have such a stake in this whole thing because I love 1, 2, and 3 so much. They were such a big deal for me, and
I suppose for the first
brilliant.
3 it was like mad genius on a leash, and then beyond that point then he was let off, and we saw the consequence of that.
Rose goes on to say that they succeeded in digitizing life itself. Colonel goes on, but are there things not covered by genetic information? Which again ties back into the whole theme of memes. So what isn't covered in human evolution through our genes? Well, memes aren't. Memes are something that exist outside of our genetics.
Our values, our ideas, our culture, all that kind of stuff.
That's it. And it's only things that are derived through our experiences and our interaction with existence, essentially. Ideas, accounts, stories, etc., etc.
But there are things not covered by genetic information.
What do you mean?
Human memories, ideas, culture, history.
Genes don't contain any record of human history.
Is it something that should not be passed on? Should that information be left at the mercy of nature?
Emma alluded to it earlier on where she said, how would you know if history had been doctored without digital information as such?
And you wouldn't.
You wouldn't, because all you have are the accounts of people that came before you and whatever records they are. But who's to say those records weren't doctored by someone or something? And the something I can't emphasize enough here because, like I said, it is totally ambiguous right now. These things aren't outright telling us they're AI. It would seem that they are AI because they have been affected by...
They talk about like a conception, their own primordial soup, which sort of alludes that there's something else, which is so weird. Like
they do indeed. As the Colonel said, to begin with, we're not what you call human. A kind of consciousness arose at the crucible of the White House, which was our base of evolution. we are formless. We are the very discipline and morality that Americans invoke so often. My reading on that, to try and get a kind of an objective read on what's going on, if that indeed can be done, because Kojima tried to write every game as the finale. So insofar as the timeline is concerned, this was meant to be his signing off point. At least that's what he would have us believe. Because, again,
I'm not so sure about that.
Just to sneak in our bit of a knock of Kojima there again.
It's been a while, yeah.
Yeah, like he always claimed that, oh yeah, this is my last game. I want to bow out after this one. But then he always came back. And again, to reference Metal Gear Solid 4 without getting into it, but it just kind of falls into context of what we're saying, so I kind of have to get it said. Like, he always made that claim that, I wanted to move on to something else, but I kept getting dragged back in. And I have to call bullshit on that.
I don't buy it either, to be honest.
No, because he begrudgingly, it would seem, came back to do Metal Gear Solid 4. And without exploring the pros and cons of that game, even after that game was completed, he came back and he did Peace Walker, and then he came back and he did 5. So whatever about this idea that you wanted to walk away after each game, and then you begrudgingly came back to do the 4th one, then went on to make more games in the franchise again. Like,
you're full of shit.
Yeah.
I just say it. I don't buy it at all.
I wonder, because there's so much kind of megalomaniacal crap that he demonstrates constantly. I have to wonder, is it him kind of just going, oh look, I'm going to step away from this? And is it a kind of an artificial thing, so as everyone go, oh no, please don't go, you're so great, Kojima, please don't, come back. And is it him trying to lick his own balls, in a sense, so as everyone just kind of goes, oh please don't go, we love you so much, Kojima. And I suspect that that's probably the fucking case. I mean, even after he...
It's not exactly out of his power to put his foot down if it's going to be the last game.
Yeah, like...
He's not exactly held... His arms are twisted.
Yeah, he could have walked away. Like, I mean,
I think it's bollocks.
He could have done something else, but he didn't. And even after the point where he begrudgingly, because, well, look, everyone just really wanted me to come back and do this, then he fucking did more. So, just...
whoever said that, I call bullshit. That sounds like arse to me.
I call bullshit too. I think he just wanted everyone to go, oh, please don't go.
Jesus.
Please keep making more. That will come into play once we get to Metal Gear Solid 4. So that's enough on that said.
Just felt like knocking on Kojima a little bit,
Yeah, like, I can't go a podcast about talking about Metal Gear without having a dig at him.
Look, I give it to the man. He's got a brilliant mind. A lot of things. The issue I come with is kind of the sycophancy as well people have about him. But he feeds into that himself, which is a bit annoying.
Yeah, he absolutely does.
But there's a brilliant mind behind him. He's got a lot of ideas thrown out. He needs to be grounded a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, sorry, a lot.
Yeah.
And we've seen examples when he isn't.
For sake of what's going on here,
but he loves the smell of his own balls.
Yeah, he loves the smell of his own piss, man. But anyway, insofar as the events that are unfolding now are concerned, it would seem, for sake of this, I'm going to take him at his word that he did indeed intend to sign off on this game. So if this was meant to be his conclusion to the timeline of events in the Metal Gear saga, and this was it, and that was the end, I suspect that what is intended here is meant to be ambiguous, and we are not meant to get any concrete answers to it. Metal Gear Solid 3 does a lovely thing where it addresses some of the stuff that comes up here, but because of its nature as a prequel, it doesn't have to follow it up. It gives you a bit of context so as to satisfy up to a certain point, but fans, obviously enough, and even me as a young fella, after this game concluded, I wanted answers as to what was the objective answer to what's going on here.
Well, you got more than you bargained for.
Yeah.
It came to 4.
That's it. But once you consume enough media and you live long enough and you get a little bit of experience, you come to value mystery and ambiguity. And sometimes it is the case that any answer you can give to a mystery only serves to demystify something and to deflate the ideas. And that's what Metal Gear Solid 4 does. It gives you the most unsatisfying answers to this question. I'm taking Kojima at his word here now for sake of this, that this was meant to be his signing off point. This is meant to be left ambiguous. This is meant to be up in the air. These things are meant to leave you asking questions, because the questions that are being asked, that is where the magic happens. It's your own headcanon. What do you think is going on? And you can juggle around the ambiguous elements and you can come up with totally different interpretations and totally different outcomes based on your own ideas and stuff. And that's infinitely more valuable than being told, well, this is what he meant, or this is what is actually going on.
We're sitting here now talking about it, and there's videos there upline about it 13 years ago. So the people are still talking about it.
Well, it's a 22-year-old game, and since the day that this game launched, there has been conversation surrounding it. And that's the beautiful thing I find.
It's wonderful.
Where you have people having discussions decades after the thing is made. Whereas you completely and totally undermine and negate that completely if you give any objective answers to it. It's kind of just to, off the top of my head, pick a few films that kind of engage in similar things. The end of Inception, the premise of Inception being, everything is occurring in a dream world, and at the end we are told that the little spinning thing, you've seen the film, haven't you?
No.
You've not seen Inception?
No.
I
was hoping you wouldn't ask. I was like, I'll fly under the radar for this one, just don't address it to me.
Mother of God, you Philistine. Right, look.
So I know the concept anyway, the thing's spinning, and there's a whole kind of thing of like, is it a dream?
Is it reality? A dream or is it reality?
Yeah, I'm kind of familiar with that.
And the question is the point. You're not supposed to get an answer to that question, because then if you have an answer, that's it. That's the end of it. Whereas if you get a question, you get to keep juggling ideas forever and come up with new ideas on the back of it. And you get some wonderful food for thought. And I suspect that if this was meant to be the signing off point for Kojima, this is what was intended to. These questions were never meant to be answered. The manner in which all this discussion plays out here now, I've kind of come off the rails here a small bit because we haven't actually got into the meat of this. I don't think any of this was meant to be actually followed up with objective answers. It was all meant to exist in the ambiguous realm, and you weren't ever supposed to get an answer as to what are the Patriots, who are the Patriots, what was going on. You were meant to juggle these ideas forevermore and keep talking about it. It's beautiful. Then 4 came along and fucked it all. But anyway, enough about that. We'll get back into this.
Yes.
So, it's totally ambiguous as to what the Patriots are. Are they AIs? Are they some kind of disembodied entities? Are they aliens? Are they ghosts? Who knows? So they aren't being particularly candid, but they are going on to have this conversation with us. The beauty of it is the way the Patriots present themselves. They present themselves as being this supreme intelligence that have this computational ability that blows the human mind clean out of the water. There is no response that Raiden can come up with in response to anything these Patriots are saying through the guise of these AIs that they don't have an answer for. And they make Raiden and the player, by extension, feel so small and so insignificant. We are essentially ants to these people. These people, these things, these entities, whatever the hell they are. To elaborate on that, Rose goes on to say,
We've always kept records of our lives, through words, pictures, symbols, from tablets to books.
But not all the information was inherited by later generations. A small percentage of the whole was selected and processed, then passed on. Not unlike genes, really.
That's what history is, Jack.
That's what history is, Jack. So, acknowledging history is whatever someone saw fit to document, to write down, and to pass on. There is so much that has occurred in the past that's
history is written by the victor.
Yeah, that indicates the nature of base reality and the nature of human beings, the nature of consciousness. but it is left to the mercy of history. And as soon as that individual dies, if there was no record of the things that they experienced, whatever ideas or truths that they uncovered, those were they not recorded or interpreted in some way, who's to say what happened and what didn't?
But in the current digitized world, trivial information is accumulating every second, preserved in all its triteness, never fading, always accessible.
Rumors about petty issues, misinterpretations, slander.
All this junk data, preserved in an unfiltered state, growing at an alarming rate.
It will only slow down social progress, reduce the rate of evolution.
Just that there, just that little bit, that's so unbelievably poignant when we, 22 years later, look at the world that we live in today and the rise of social media that has given everyone a platform to spout whatever shite they want. I mean, if you look at Twitter,
Facebook, all those bloody oaks.
Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, everyone posting their truth, and the narcissism, the self-involvement, and the nonsense that we all perpetuate on a daily basis. And what good is any of this crap doing anyone? It's doing nobody any good. It's just noise. It's just rubbish. Say all of the things that matter to us as a species. Like, it's something that I always was baffled by, in the sense that, like, you look at any of the wars and any of the conflicts that go on, the tribal nature of humanity, it's in our nature to kind of divide and find a way to other anyone else who comes from a different background, be it your skin colour, be it the language you speak, be it whatever traditions that you engage with or anything like that. We find a reason to find distinction between ourselves and other people. And that has been amplified massively by social media and the ability for everyone to have a platform to spout whatever nonsense, whatever narcissistic
load of crap
bullshit that suits them. So they're so far ahead of their time, getting out ahead of all this and saying this is the way things are going to go, and it's not good for anyone. For the species, this is detrimental. We aren't going to make any progress because we're going to retreat into our own little echo chambers.
Or as I think Rose put it, or safe little ponds and such. I think, like, when Emma tells you initially, they talk about the censorship and so forth, and at first it may seem like it's going to be sort of a conventional, tyrannical kind of like, oh, we're just going to, control it and blah, blah, blah. But their whole argument is like, no, when, like, left at your own devices, you abuse it to the nth degree. And this is the consequences of your so-called freedom.
Yeah, so the Colonel goes on.
Right. You seem to think that our plan is one of censorship.
Are you telling me it's not?
You're being silly. What we propose to do is not to control content, but to create context.
Create context?
The digital society furthers human flaws and selectively rewards development of convenient half-truths. Just look at the strange juxtapositions of morality around you.
Billions spent on new weapons in order to humanely murder other humans.
Rights of criminals are given more respect than the privacy of their victims.
Although there are people suffering in poverty, huge donations are made to protect endangered species. Everyone grows up being told the same thing.
Be nice to other people.
But beat out the competition.
You're special. Believe in yourself and you will succeed.
But it's obvious from the start that only a few can succeed.
Any of these ideas that we have about morality and fair play, they're all complete and utter fucking bullshit, essentially. And it's all just noise. It's all just platitudes. To call back to the first game's whole kind of thing with regards to genes and how genes propagate themselves and genes survive. Pretty much the same way with regards to memes. We kind of have to look at the banality of all of these things that we're taught to believe that, okay, we're not all in competition for survival. We're not all in competition for resources. We're not all at each other's throats to try and accumulate all the best of everything for ourselves and to beat out anyone else that is competing for the same resources, be it the way that we compete with each other for money, for status, for sexual partners as a means of procreating to make a better looking, more intelligent next generation. The fact of the matter is, reality on base level is completely and utterly hostile, and we're all at one another's throats. But these memes that we have come up with, these ideas of fair play and love and equality,
empty platitudes.
Yeah.
To satiate the masses.
That's it. It's all utter nonsense that we've been drip-fed.
Lads, it's all bullshit.
It's all a load of shite.
At the base level, we are dirty fucking monkeys, like. We like to think we're civilized, but when the conditions are just right, we will eat each other. Full stop.
Absolutely. We're no better than like tribes of baboons. Once they encounter another tribe of baboons, they will slaughter and eat them. Because that's not our tribe. They're the tribe from over there, and we're the tribe from over here. So fuck those guys.
What was that? I think it was a quote by George Carlin. He's like, we're semi-civilized with baseball caps and machine guns. Something along the lines of that.
We think ourselves to be so civilized and so far above the animal kingdom, but if you read between the lines, we're far worse. And these AIs are bringing us through the character of Raiden face to face with our own nature. And they're calling into question, what qualification do we have to think for ourselves given the harsh truths of reality? And they are now positioning themselves as being essentially our guardians who watch out for us and want to position themselves as the entities that do the thinking for us, because we have clearly demonstrated by our nature alone that we are in no position to make decisions for ourselves. And it's a fairly damning indictment.
That's because any corner Raiden tries to take to kind of refute it or argue against it, he's constantly undermined very easily. A lot of it's just kind of a symptom of raging against the machine, like, I don't like the notion of, or the idea of being controlled, but everything I say is...
We don't like the idea of being controlled, but when we are brought face to face with our own nature by this superior intelligence, do we really have a leg to stand on once we're arguing for our own agency? What has our own agency got us, really? The AIs have already outlined a case for, like, look at the shit ye spout, all this nonsense about being fair and being good to your fellow man, when we have evolved so far as to develop things like
nuclear weapons
to humanely wipe out the other tribe if needs be. So these superior intelligences are dragging us through the dirt, making us face our own ineptitude that is inherent to our very natures. And this is terrifying. The way that these entities are speaking down to us right now, just the condescension is just so beautifully written. How they just talk down to Raiden, and Raiden is essentially the spokesperson for humanity at this point.
They use him specifically because he is the shining example of what they're trying to control and fix.
Yeah, he is a perfect microcosm of the entire human race, basically. So the Colonel goes on to say,
You exercise your right to freedom, and this is the result. All rhetoric to avoid conflict and protect each other from hurt. The untested truths, spun by different interests, continue to churn and accumulate in the sandbox of political correctness and value systems.
And mother of God, is that not a poignant statement when you look at the way things have played out today? Now, the virtue signalling and the shite that you have to listen to on a daily basis.
Oh dear God Almighty.
Absolute nonsense from disingenuous arseholes looking to try and prop themselves up on the back of whatever notion. I'm not going to get into specifics, and I'm not.
Let's just say you know yourself.
Be it on the right or on the left whatever your political alignment is, you have to have a look and just see what anyone on any given side of any given argument is saying. If you take a step back and have a look at it, any politician, any fucking person, you'll just see everyone is spouting a load of shit, and it's probably a thinly veiled, self-interested motive, be it to prop one's own ego up on the back of...
We conduct ourselves based on self-interest.
Yeah, because we are social animals. If we have to engage in this game of pissing down each other's back and telling one another that it's raining, and we're all dancing around in this big circle jerk of bullshit, and the AIs are making us confront that reality right now, and it is just so beautifully written. Fuck me, I love this game.
It is insanely prophetic.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, my goodness.
So far ahead of its time. But like I said, I don't want to get into specifics and get into any particular detail and give points, because I don't want to engage in any debate about anyone's particular political leanings, be they left, right.
The whole kind of point, it doesn't matter. It's anything.
It doesn't matter, be it on the left, be it on the right. The fact is, wherever you are, by virtue of being a human being, you are full of shite. By your nature dictates that you are full of shit.
And
that's the reality.
I'm talking to you, who's listening right now. You are full of shit.
You're full of shit.
Understand?
Yeah, and we're full of shit too. And
we're not talking from a position of being the exception. We're speaking from as the example. We
are active participants in the bullshit carousel that is life.
Make no mistake, we are not propping ourselves up by any means. We are the fucking example, not the exception.
Absolutely. So right.
Anyway, shit talker, work away.
Everyone withdraws into their own small gated community, afraid of a larger forum. They stay inside their little ponds, leaking whatever truth suits them into the growing cesspool of society at large.
The different cardinal truths neither clash nor mesh. No one is invalidated, but nobody is right.
Not even natural selection can take place here. The world is being engulfed in truth.
The world is being engulfed in truth. And you hear this stuff nowadays with regards to people shouting on about their truths. Not the truth per se, but their truth. But what is any individual's truth? Only their perspective, their very narrow perspective through their very short little existence. Viewed through the lens of their own personal experience, we have to call into question what lens is this person viewing reality through? Because we know people are delusional. We know their people are mental.
Yes.
And who is the one that decides who's mental, who isn't mental, who's deluded, who's full of shit, who's a narcissist, who isn't? Like, we have all these different things. Who's a sociopath, who isn't a sociopath? How do we arrive at those conclusions? We are just a ball of chaos, and that's what we are. And these AIs are putting it to us. We are in no position to make decisions for ourselves. And if we continue as we're going without any kind of a guardian to step in and to control the context of all of the nonsense that we produce, that we are going to drown in this ocean of truth. This is where, again, we tie back into the whole theme of memes. This is all about censorship and about controlling memes and ideas, because we as a species ourselves are not fit to do so. It was so far ahead of its time, and it even predicted, I won't say it, but it fell in line how things played out with your man Edward Snowden and what he brought to light about the NSA listening to everyone. Like, this really rang through with that, like how the NSA were watching and monitoring what everybody was doing and gathering data. And nowadays we have this kind of thing. It's all about, your data this and cookies that, so on and so forth. And what is almost better to any of these mega corporations, got this whole thing now with data centers everywhere. Data is being gathered on everyone. Data is a stronger currency nowadays than money, because if you gather enough data, you can predict what everyone is going to do, be it their habits with regards to what they're going to buy, what type of food that they're going to eat, what way they're going to vote come elections. You can quantify everything down to mathematical precision. You can suss out what anyone's going to do based on their background, based on whatever number of factors.
Just them as an individual, yeah.
Yeah, you can distill everyone and everything down to an equation. That's what these entities are coming at us with. The Colonel goes on to say,
This is the way the world ends. Not with a bang, but a whimper.
We're trying to stop that from happening.
It's our responsibility as rulers. Just as in genetics, unnecessary information and memory must be filtered out to stimulate the evolution of the species.
And you think you're qualified to decide what's necessary and not?
And this is just the
delivery the Colonel gives in the game to respond to that, the first line.
Doesn't miss a beat.
It's just absolutely.
Who else could wade through the sea of garbage you people produce, retrieve valuable truths, and even interpret their meaning for later generations?
That's what it means to create context.
It is so condescending of these entities to make this claim that humanity as a species, by nature, are so inept that we are fortunate to have these supreme intelligences to look over our shoulder and to make the decisions for us because we're not fit to do so. We are just monkeys.
Dirty primates, lads.
Dirty primates that will, given any degree of freedom at all, will just find ways to divide and other one another and destroy ourselves. And that's what we are. We are monkeys that figured out how to create nuclear weapons, so on and so forth.
Yes.
And we are excellent at coming up with reasons as to why we should launch these nuclear weapons, be it these silly notions of identity tied to nationalism, religion, whatever philosophies, cultures that we have, reasons that we invent in our own heads to justify we're this bunch of people. And we believe that because of our identity, it gives us the right to do whatever to this crowd of fuckers who aren't us. So we're getting called out big time by these entities anyway.
We are not a species that contends with peace. We will contrive conflict, pure and simple. We will create it.
Ryden goes on to say, I'll decide for myself what to believe and what to pass on.
I'll decide for myself what to believe and what to pass on.
Colonel calls him right the fuck out.
But is that even your own idea?
Or something Snake told you?
Find something to believe in and find it for yourself. And when you do, pass it on to the future.
And not very long ago, Snake delivered that beautiful piece of dialogue when Ryden was in having a bit of a crisis as to what the hell am I doing? Reality is crashing down around me. All of these memories about my horrible past that I've tried to bury, they're all being brought up to the forefront now, and I'm I don't know what to do. Snake delivers this piece of wisdom to Ryden, but it is something that he is very amenable to, and he decides to take Snake up on this meme, this idea that was palatable to him, and that he decided, you know what, I can't argue against that, and now he's even reiterated it to these AIs, but they've called him out on it straight away. It's like, you just liked that idea. This idea was put to you from an external source, and it didn't clash with any ideas that you have about your own autonomy or your own agency, so you decided to integrate it into your self, if you will.
A convenient truth.
Yeah.
As we lean into a moment.
That's the proof of your incompetence right there. You lack the qualifications to exercise free will.
Oh, what a statement. What a statement. You know, whether or not free will exists.
It doesn't.
No, I wouldn't think so either, but even say the idea of it, given what we've demonstrated as a species, from the perspective of this greater intelligence, were it possible to somehow exercise free will, as far as these entities are concerned, we would not be in a position to exercise it were such a thing to exist. And that is a proper indictment right there. More or less said, you're animals. You are empty-headed animals. You have absolutely no business making any decisions for yourselves. And getting all of this thrown at you. This is how you catalyze an existential crisis. Mother of God, at 13 years of age, I could not get my head around this at all.
Jesus, man.
Very lofty ideas here. But yeah.
That's not true. I have the right.
Does something like a self exist inside of you?
That which you call self serves as nothing more than a mask to cover your own being.
In this era of ready-made truths, self is just something used to preserve those positive emotions that you occasionally feel.
Oh, that's so lovely too. This idea that we have of a self. What does a self consist of exactly? I mean, what are we but the sum total of our experiences, may be in tandem with our genetic foundation? We all have certain traits and certain inclinations that exist as a consequence of our genes. Even in how we look, we will bear some kind of resemblance to our parents. And that's not something that we can decide upon. That's something that we kind of just happen into existence. And these are features of something that one could consider to be part of their self. Everything then outside of that is external to one's self. So is the sum total of all of these elements our experiences, does that constitute a self? A self in this context is a very illusory and transient thing. Something that we believe to constitute a self is probably, by our own telling, these are things, positive aspects that I think are elements that, when accumulated, result in a self that is me. These entities are saying that's all a load of bollocks. There is no such thing as a self, which is, kind of philosophical territory. But anyways, the kernel.
Another possibility is that self is a concept you conveniently borrowed under the logic that it would endow you with some sense of strength.
That's crap!
Is it? Would you prefer that someone else tell you? All right then. Explain it to him.
Jack, you're simply the best, and you got there all by yourself.
Oh, what happened? Do you feel lost? Why not try a bit of soul searching?
Don't think you'll find anything, though.
Ironic that although self is something that you yourself fashioned, every time something goes wrong, you turn around and place the blame on something else.
It's not my fault. It's not your fault.
In denial, you simply resort to looking for another, more convenient truth in order to make yourself feel better.
Leaving behind in an instant the so-called truth you once embraced.
Should someone like that be able to decide what is truth?
Should someone like you even have the right to decide?
Oh, Lord save us. This is just wonderful, wonderful stuff.
I'm going to take up the drink, I think.
Yeah. Being spoken down to by this greater intelligence.
That's me. Can I bring it back to values, platitudes, so forth? Like in the instance of something, how would you say, sort of conflict, you will abandon it at the first fucking sight of danger and trouble. And then try and justify it yourself by adopting a new kind of truth. It's just like, well, look, I don't believe in this. I was forced to do it. Killing is bad, and then you're thrown into a situation where you might be forced to do such a thing.
Yeah, truth is totally contextual. In order for someone to exercise their own self-preservation and their own self-interest, the definition of truth shifts to suit whatever it is that suits the individual to do. So whatever you do, you will twist this notion of truth to prop up whatever it is suits you to do. And we're getting called out big style.
You're full of shit.
Yep.
It's full of crap.
Colonel AI.
You've done nothing but abuse your freedom.
You don't deserve to be free.
We're not the ones smothering the world. You are.
The individual is supposed to be weak, but far from powerless. A single person has the potential to ruin the world.
And the age of digitized communication has given even more power to the individual. Too much power for an immature species.
Building a legacy involves figuring out what is wanted and what needs to be done for that goal. All this you used to struggle with. Now we think for you.
We are your guardians, after all.
Oh, fuck me. I love this game so much.
It just it goes beyond condescending. It's just like you are not even. Oh my god. You're an animal. You're just a pure animal. You don't deserve to be free. Because when left to your devices, you spout bollocks.
Yeah, you're full of shit, and your base nature is just that.
Good, bad, right, wrong, platitudes. At the end of it, you are a dirty animal. Whether you like it or not. Whatever you hold true to yourself,
yep,
it will be compromised. Given the right conditions, we will tear each other to fucking pieces.
Yep.
You want to control human thought? Human behavior?
Of course. Anything can be quantified nowadays. That's what this exercise was designed to prove.
You fell in love with me just as you were meant to, after all. Isn't that right, Jack?
Ocelot was not told the whole truth, to say the least.
We rule an entire nation. Of what interest would a single soldier, no matter how able, be to us?
And this is the bit now. Oh, fuck me. As soon as I heard this sequence of words, I nearly crawled up into the corner of the room in sheer fucking terror.
The S3 plan does not stand for solid snake simulation. What it does stand for is selection for societal sanity.
Mother of fuck. There's your existential crisis right there now. Being brought face to face with your own nature and how full of shit you and everyone is. And
you, me, everybody.
Yep. And how your nature and your capacity for thought exists within these parameters, and it's not something that you can ever hope to transcend. This is just what you are, what your entire species is. Have a look at the world around you and look at the chaos and look how everything is dreadful, basically.
When left to your devices, lads,
but
set the world ablaze.
These entities are here to look after us.
I was thinking they'd almost initially set up to be sort of a tyrannical despot, but it's not even that. It's just like, we know better than you. You're monkeys. You should be thanking us for taking over, because you're unqualified to do so. We, however, are more than qualified.
The S3 is a system for controlling human will and consciousness. S3 is not you, a soldier trained in the image of Solid Snake. It is a method, a protocol that created a circumstance that made you what you are.
So you see, we're the S3, not you.
What you experienced was the final test of its effectiveness.
That's crazy.
You heard what President Johnson said.
The Arsenal's GW system is the key to their supremacy.
The objective of this exercise was to establish such a method.
So now that we've gotten this reveal as to what the true nature of the S3 plan is, the censorship of information and what these entities deem worthy of being passed on to the next generation, the meta aspect of this game, we go all the way back now to the very start, where in anticipation of this game, we were fed certain things about what the game is going to be. It's going to be another Metal Gear Solid. You're going to play a Solid Snake. It's more or less the same. And how the marketing deceived us. Ever before the game was released, we were playing into the whole theme of this game and the whole thing that's being put to us here now. We were playing into the whole coming into something with certain expectations. The very fact that the true nature of the game was hidden from us and the trailers, everything was doctored. It was almost like a fourth wall break in what these AIs are telling us. We were fed a certain type of truth from Kojima and from Konami, and we believed it because it suited us to believe it. When push came to shove, what we got was something else. I mean, when you compare this game to what came before it, with what the first game was, it was a very intelligent game, an incredibly intelligent, groundbreaking game for its time. And of course, once you get something like that from a franchise, you expect more of the same from it. But we were active participants in a form of the S3 program, albeit a microcosm of it. And by virtue of being a fan of this franchise and anticipating the game, we were kind of playing into this whole idea. And it's just fucking beautiful. That's why I adore the consequences of the lying misinformation of all the promotion material and all the trailers building up to this. It's no surprise that the game was as divisive as what it was. Most people that played Metal Gear Solid, they just wanted a stealth action game to entertain them. And of course they wanted another one. That's not what they got. They got this postmodern deconstruction of that game.
We used Shadow Moses as a paradigm for the exercise.
I wonder if you would have preferred a fantasy setting.
We chose that backdrop because of its extreme circumstances. It was an optimal test for S3's crisis management capacity. If the model could trigger, control, and solve this, it would be ready for any contingency. And now, we have our proof. Raiden, there are also reasons behind your selection. Solidus raised plenty of other child soldiers. Do you know why we chose you over them? It was because you were the only one who refused to acknowledge the past. All the others remember what they were and pay for it daily.
But you turn your back on everything you don't like. You do whatever you like, see only the things you like, and for yourself alone.
Yes, Rose can attest to that.
You refused to see me for what I was. I lied to you, but I wanted to be caught. You pretended to be understanding, to be a gentleman. You never made a conscious attempt to reach out to me. The only time you did was when I gave you no choice but to do so.
I was just trying not to.
What? Trying not to hurt me? Dear, the one you were trying not to hurt was yourself. Avoiding the truth under the guise of kindness is all that you did. It occurred to you to do nothing but look out for yourself. Even if you claim that it was for my sake, that feeling was nowhere to be seen. In the end, everything was for your sake. I was never part of the picture.
Exactly right. So you see, you're a perfect representative of the masses we need to protect. This is why we chose you. You accepted the fiction we've provided, obeyed our orders, and did everything you were told to. The exercise is a resounding success.
Didn't I tell you that GW was still incomplete? But not anymore, thanks to you.
Your persona, experiences, triumphs, and defeats are nothing but byproducts. The real objective was ensuring that we could generate and manipulate them. It's taken a lot of time and money, but it was well worth it considering the results.
And got this mirror pointed at them, reflecting back their own expectations and their own desires as to what's going to come next, and got this cerebral, fourth wall breaking meta experience that made them call into question their own consciousness and their own capacity for thought and their own experience of reality. And most people didn't want that as such. And their reaction to it wasn't one that was... People didn't come out in adoration of this game.
They came in with initial expectation to simply be playing a game.
Yeah, more of the same. And they didn't get more of the same. They got an invitation to self-reflect. And
they didn't like it.
Gamers did not like it, to
Well,
say.
I would probably argue maybe most people just didn't get it initially. It's a very heavy bombshell to drop on people.
I certainly didn't get it initially, but I was 13. Nothing like this had been done up until that point. No game had ever gotten so far underneath the skin of the player, of the external gazer, as this game had. Like, there were other intelligent games, like people often cite, like Deus Ex and stuff like that. But in my humble opinion, I don't think anything done it as good as this. And at the end of the day, it's a piece of media. So, look, your mileage may vary. You could write this off as being contrived nonsense. And I guess that's as fair an interpretation as any. But Christ above, did it resonate with me, and did it make me think, and did it scare the fucking pants off me.
It set him down a very deep, dark path.
Yep.
Where he ended up here today making a podcast. Oh, God!
Oh, Lord, save us. Where did it all go wrong? But
yeah,
anyway.
It's fucking heavy shit.
Yeah,
What you just went through now, all that articulation, that a fucking hope in hell could I have ever done that. So if you want to why I'm so quiet in that regard, I'd not a hope could I ever do that.
Again, I'm tripping over myself here now, and there was like...
It is coherent enough for me anyway.
There's just so much to it, and there is just so much heavy
We've gone on
lifting.
for so long with this thing, and it's like you could have a podcast in itself just talking about this part, and it could be like easily fucking hours long.
Absolutely, and I'm kind of pig-headedly pressing on with this because I said it was going to be 3 parts, and by Christ, it's 3 parts. So,
just a reminder: if you've made it this far in the podcast, you're deranged.
Fair play to you if you've made it this far.
Yeah, I take back what I said. Fair play.
Again, like I said at the start of this podcast, now there is nothing groundbreaking about my interpretation of this. But
you're adding your 2 cents, like.
Yeah, all that we can offer this discussion about this game is my own experience of it and just how much I love it, the impact that it had on me and still has on me, and how that shaped my taste in things and set me down a road. I started to think about things differently as a result of having encountered this game at an age where I was still developing and learning how to think, I guess. The ideas, the characters, everything, Christ above, I absolutely love it. I just can't gush about this game enough. And if you don't like it, and you don't agree with the ideas, or you think it's shite, that's absolutely fair enough. I'm not here to try and convince you otherwise. I'm just here to gush about this game because fuck me, I love it. I absolutely love it.
Yeah, I think it's alright, yeah.
Yeah.
Got the old poster up there on the wall.
Yeah.
Staring down at you.
To wrap up the events of the game.
Yeah, so the kernel tells you the S3 plan is the...
Selection for societal sanity.
Sanity. Controlling the individual. He basically says, now for the final test, you are going to face off against Solidus.
You are going to face off against your mimetic father.
I think that's enough talk. It's time for the final exercise. Raiden, take Solidus down.
Think again. I'm through doing what I'm told.
Oh, really? Aren't you forgetting something?
If you die, my child dies.
The termination of vital signals from your nanomachines means the death of Olga's child. Not to mention the death of Rose. She's wired the same way.
Rose? Does she actually exist?
Of course I do, Jack. You have to believe me.
Damn!
It will be a fight to the death.
Solidus at least wants you dead.
We will collect the necessary data from this last fight. Then we'll consider the exercise closed. So, Jack the Ripper, will it be Solidus, the Patriot's creation, or you, Solidus's creation? Our beloved monsters, enjoy yourselves.
It's all part of the thing. And even after all this, Raiden kind of goes, you think I'm going to do that? He goes, and the Colonel replies, of course you are. You've forgotten one thing. We still have Olga's baby.
We also have Rose. Rose, who has been speaking to you as this AI. But is that Rose? And Raiden questions, does Rose even exist? And at this point we don't know, because at what point...
What the fuck is real?
Yeah. We were speaking to Rose and having like candid conversations with her, and she didn't seem to be as robotic as the Colonel, because that's another thing. Like the Colonel's performance, Paul Eiding's performance in this game, the rendition that he gives of the Colonel sounds so much more flat and robotic almost. If you compare some dialogue, I might drop in some dialogue here just to compare.
Yeah, I kind of noticed that as well. I was like,
yeah,
it's such a massive difference.
He sounds so monotone and like sterile in comparison to the performance that he gave in the first game, but it's by design. It's not that, that he didn't give a good performance, but he was doing a machine's imitation of Colonel Campbell, essentially. You can really hear it, even once, not to mention that piece of shit Metal Gear 4 again. But even once he comes back and reprises his role as Colonel Campbell in that, he just sounds so much more human, and there's so much more character to his voice, where he's just almost robotic in this one. Not almost, he is robotic in this, both in the performance and in,
but even as kind of flat monotone as it is, he can still be so menacing, especially in this part. He even laughs as well at points, and it's just fucking like, stop that.
The whole thing where his face keeps going translucent and you see the skull, to call back to the first game and the horror elements of the first game, where I mentioned the scene in the elevator where the static image on the codec changes.
Snakes in the elevator shaft.
In the elevator, and Otacon's trying to warn you that the guys are in there with you with the stealth camo, and how that breaks the format in that, okay, the static image is now moving and now you're getting a close-up of Otacon's panicked face. This does a similar thing where you always had the perspective of these two faces on the codec screen, and they were always facing the same direction and there was little or no movement, but now you're getting this translucent skull every so often that's coming through with the Colonel's face. And not alone that, but it's changing the perspective. He might have his back to us, he might be looking to the right, might be looking to the left, and all of a sudden it's breaking the pattern of how we saw the Colonel up until this point, and it's so fucking unnerving, as if everything...
It's the only time in the game it ever does that.
Yeah.
It's what kind of drives it home really well.
That's it. To try and follow this up with any type of objective explanation as to what's going on is to undermine all of the ideas that are put forward. What's real in this game? What was a VR simulation? What existed in Raiden's head, or what didn't? And the answer is, who knows? Make up your own mind. If you're given any explanation as to what's real and to what isn't, you've demystified it. You have deflated the idea. Again, to call back, I mentioned the end of Inception, what's real and what's not. You had that at the end of that. Another thing that pops into my mind is in Pulp Fiction, the briefcase.
Yeah.
What's in the briefcase? The question is infinitely more valuable than any answer that you could ever provide to that question.
The journey beats the destination, as they say.
Absolutely. It is far better to question forevermore and come up with different answers on the fly, different interpretations, come up with new food for thought all the time. What could have been the case? Anything. You decide what's in the case.
You see,
what are the Patriots? What's real? You decide it. This should never have been followed up with any type of objective answer. You can say, oh, well, fans demanded it, X, Y, and Z. Fans demanded it, but you didn't have to follow it up. And again...
Well, to kind of emphasise the point he's saying, that you don't deserve the truth. Fuck off.
Yeah, that's it.
You don't deserve to be free.
You don't deserve answers.
You want answers? Piss off.
Forget about what you deserve and what you don't. Answers ruin it. Don't give answers to these questions.
Yeah.
The question is the prize. It will get you thinking and keep you thinking, and any answer will just ruin it. So
what if I don't like ambiguity and I want conclusive endings to everything?
Well, then fuck off and play Call of Duty.
Fair enough.
Play Call of Duty for yourself. There you go.
Yeah, bastard.
But, yeah. Oh, mother of God. We're up again 3.5 hours now. Anyway, look, we have to try and put a bow on this.
Alright, look, so... After this, completely earth-shattering conversation you have with the AI entity, the Colonel AI or entity, whatever, it says, alright, here's your final test. You're going up against Solidus. And you have no choice because we got Rose and we got Olga's baby. So get to it. You and Solidus get into a little conversation. Solidus is just like, look, I gotta kill ya because you're the last link now for me to take out your nano machines and try and trace the position or whereabouts of the Patriots.
Yes.
So we are going to fight.
Jack, my son. My clone brothers and I are called monsters, replicates of evil genes. You are one of a kind, but still a monster, shaped by a dark and secret history. We need to decide which monstrosity will have the privilege of survival.
As you're about to go into it, Solidus as a sort of final incentive to get you to fight.
By the way, Jack.
Just goes, oh, by the way, I killed your parents.
I was the one who killed your parents.
You dirty trap!
I claimed you for my own and raised you as a soldier in the army of the devil. I am your foster father and your worst enemy.
Why?
Because I needed to know whether we were really someone else's creation. We're repeating history, Jack. Liquid and Solid hunted down Big Boss, trying to sever the tie that bound them to him. Unless you kill me and face your past, Jack, you will never escape. You'll stay in the endless loop, your own double helix.
Yeah,
just dropping that.
Just to give him a fucking last boot into the teeth and a further incentive to fight.
By the way, I rode your mother. You dirty bastard!
It's time we were both free.
Saldus isn't giving up the fight just yet. Raiden says to him, but you know, GW has been destroyed, so you have to find out the location and the identity of the Patriots has gone with GW. Saldus goes on to say,
I have other reasons for wanting you dead. The clues to the Patriots inside GW have been erased, but there are other traces. Inside you.
What?
The information is being carried by the nanomachines in your cerebral cortex and throughout the neural network they formed.
Blasts away in the fight. He's fighting with two swords. He's a little fucking Dr. Octopus suit. You get into it in front of or on top of the roof of the Federal Hall.
Brace yourself.
So the scene has been set. Raiden is finally getting the opportunity to face off against his greatest enemy, his mimetic father, the man who has been tormenting him since childhood. And given everything that's happened up until now, I think just the idea of this fight is class. It's a sword fight. Personally, I prefer the boss fight with Liquid Snake in the first game, but this is undeniably pretty class. Like how everything ties together here, the whole theme of memes, legacy, this being the birthplace of liberty, and this entire thing being a struggle against the Patriots, a form of Illuminati. Raiden's backstory coming full circle, and just finally having the opportunity to put this bastard to bed and get his revenge once and for all. It's quite lovely. After a bit of sword fighting, dealing with Saldus and his rocket boots and his tentacle arms, at one point he ejects the tentacle arms, gets rid of those, and he goes into a more aggressive form of sword combat, which is quite a bastard on the higher difficulties, but alas, once you finally overcome the motherfucker and you get your revenge on the man, it's top shelf. Say Saldus being a fairly sympathetic villain in that he, his stance on the Patriots and freedom, liberating humanity from these oppressors, these oppressive entities, like despite being a total bastard of a character, and despite the fact that we're given every reason to hate him, I think his motive is fairly solid, and it can't really argue with that. His own personal motive, his desire to leave a legacy, that was something that always resonated with me, and it's basically man's struggle with mortality. The Sons of Big Boss, their whole thing with having their ability to reproduce genetically engineered out, how that plays out in the character of Saldus, I always thought was very compelling. He was voiced by an actor by the name of John Saigon, who unfortunately passed away in 2017. I think it was 2017 now, if I'm not mistaken, somewhere around then anyways, but I believe the man died in his early 60s from cancer, so that was a great loss. But yeah, so Saldus, great character, brilliantly voice acted by the late John Saigon, very compelling villain, top marks right across the board, but unfortunately the time has come to finally do in the bastard.
Lo and behold, you come out on top, you slice through the back of his suit, blood spurts like a geyser but flies out, you finish him off. And at the last moment, Saldus turns around, looks up I think at the George Washington statue.
Yeah, he falls off the roof down onto the George Washington statue behind it. Raiden's looking down at him and he kind of gives one last swing of his sword. I heard the original idea was that it was meant to be like an American flag, that he was supposed to cut down and let the flag fall on top of Saldus.
I would say because of the whole 9/11 thing, they wanted to...
Probably that
kind of thing, yeah.
And we get just some absolutely lovely catharsis here for the character of Raiden. or as he's otherwise known, Jack. I love the character of Raiden. I think he's fantastic. People give him a lot of fucking guff because, you know, he wasn't Snake, and because, you know, he's got a big blondie head of hair in him and all this kind of thing, and he was kind of like the antithesis to what Snake was, really. He wasn't your typical man's man. But, you know, I think judging Raiden on his own merits and not just criticising him for not being solid Snake, I think objectively speaking, if you just look past the fact that he's not Snake and look past the fact that he's got a big blondie head of hair in him, like everything from Raiden's backstory, you know, his horribly traumatic childhood as a child soldier, and how he's an extremely traumatized individual with a repressed past, and how that affects his relationship with Rose. I think all that stuff, again, a lot of people kind of come down hard on the whole interaction between Raiden and Rose, but I actually think it's very interesting. Like, obviously it turns out that she's a bit of a lion. Dirty tramp! You know, with that said, I think their interactions and kind of how she responds to the way he is due to his trauma. I think anyone who has any kind of maybe trauma and they're like, okay, look, granted, it's not going to be to the same degree. It's not like a lot of people were child soldiers, at least not in this side of the world. With all that said, I think just how the traumatic childhood has affected Raiden and how we see that played out with his relationship with Rose, I think that's wonderful stuff. And I think Raiden's a great character, and I've always liked him from day one. So that's my 2 cents in Raiden, and I was delighted to see the man get his revenge. And yeah, I think he was a great protagonist, and I think he's a wonderful character. And that's my 2 cents on the matter.
The fight is concluded, you bait the big bastard, and on the ground floor, Raiden is standing there, weighing on everything that's just happened.
Yep, he's questioning, who am I really?
And who happens to show up? They give him a bit of an answer.
Yep.
If he does show up, it's still a matter of question if he's there or not.
This is the thing. So Snake shows up with another bit of wisdom for Raiden. It says, look, you have to decide for yourself what's real. There's no such thing as absolute reality. Everything that you felt on this mission, everything that you experienced, that's yours and yours alone.
Who am I really? No one quite knows who or what they are. The memories you have and the role you were assigned are burdens you had to carry. It doesn't matter if they were real or not. That's never the point.
Don't worry so much about what's real and what isn't, like who's to say. And again, this ties into like the whole ambiguity of everything. This game has even acknowledged at certain points that it's a game. So, you know, it's all up in the air. Snake leaves you and,
you know, find something to believe in.
Find something to believe in.
In the wake of this complete bed of chaos that we live in as a species, simply just get on with it, will you?
There's no such thing in the world as absolute reality. Most of what they call real is actually fiction. What you think you see is only as real as your brain tells you it is.
Then, what am I supposed to believe in? What am I going to leave behind when I'm through?
We can tell other people about having faith. What we had faith in. What we found important enough to fight for. It's not whether you were right or wrong, but how much faith you were willing to have. That decides the future. The Patriots are a kind of ongoing fiction too, come to think of it. Listen, don't obsess over words so much. Find the meaning behind the words, then decide. You can find your own name. And your own future.
Decide for myself?
And whatever you choose will be you.
I don't know if I can.
I know you didn't have much in terms of choices this time. But everything you felt, thought about during this mission is yours. And what you decide to do with them is your choice.
You mean start over?
Yeah, a clean slate, a new name, new memories. Choose your own legacy. It's for you to decide. It's up to you. By the way, what is that?
Raiden removes the dog tags that have the player's name on them, because at the start of the game, once you log into the first node as Raiden, you have to enter your name and all that, and your name and your date of birth and your nationality, blood type, so on and so forth.
Dog tags.
Appears on said dog tags. Snake looks to Raiden and he says, anyone you know? Raiden has a look at it and he says, never heard the name before. Tosses the dog tags away.
Anyone you know?
No. Never heard the name before. I'll pick my own name and my own life. I'll find something worth passing on.
So he is rejecting the premise that he wasn't an analog for the player, and he has and embraced his own identity and his own past, and he has now self-actualized and has decided that he is going to decide for himself what's real and what isn't, because we've called into question the nature of reality, the nature of truth. So the only thing that anyone can do is to decide for themselves what is worth living for, what is worth passing on, and make what you like of it, because life is a big ball of shite. So you gotta, whatever you make of it is whatever you make of it.
They taught me some good things too.
I know. We've inherited freedom from all those who fought for it. We all have the freedom to spread the word, even me.
Snake, what about Olga's child?
Don't worry, I'll find him. Count on it. As long as you keep yourself alive, he's safe.
Do you know where Liquid went?
I put a transmitter on his ray.
Did he head for the Patriots?
Yeah, but I have a feeling they gave Ocelot a bogus location to begin with. Cheer up, we have a better lead. This contains the list of all the Patriots.
But Ocelot took it.
The one we gave you wasn't the real thing.
What?
This virus is coded to destroy only a specific part of GW, namely the information about the Patriot's identity. Which means that there's a parameter coded in here that defines what that information is.
I get it. Analyze the code and you can probably find out where they operate. Count me in.
No, you have things to do first. And people you need to talk to.
Who shows up? Only Rose, who is again referring to the fact that she's pregnant. It looks like Rose is real, but Raiden has gotten to the stage where he has let go of his concern about what's real and what isn't, and he's just going to experience reality as it presents itself to him, because that's all anyone can do. Like we discussed with the Patriot conversation and all that kind of thing, who's to say what's real and what isn't? You kind of just have to go with the flow until such a time that you clock out and you're done.
Life can be long, dreary, monotonous,
it's
painful,
a dream.
cruel.
By definition, life is a dream within a dream. So that's the footnote that we leave Raiden on.
Before it's ruined in 4, but never mind that.
Yeah.
We'll get to that.
So,
Snake?
What's wrong?
Nothing. Can I ask you something? Who am I, really?
I wouldn't know. But we're going to find out together, aren't we?
Oh. Yeah.
See me for what I am, okay?
Dirty Trump!
I know.
Do you remember this place?
Of course. This is where we first met. I remember now. Today is the day I met you.
That's it.
So we leave off with the credits playing a beautiful score.
The theme of the game.
And say goodbye to Yesterday by I
Rita Morcana?
Yeah. That sounds about right.
Yeah, there you go.
I think I found something to pass along to the future.
What?
He said all living things want their genes to live on.
Are you talking about the baby?
Yeah. The genes aren't the only thing you pass on. There are too many things that aren't written into our DNA. It's up to us to teach that to our children.
What kind of things?
About the environment, our ideas, our culture, poetry, compassion, sorrow, joy. We'll tell them everything together.
Is that a proposal?
This is for your ears only.
And the vocals is done by Carla White, who unfortunately died in 2007 of cancer.
Yeah,
She
we
gave
lost
us
a good one there.
Yeah, beautiful vocals, by goodness.
The game finishes on that note, but then we get one last earth-shattering mystery that the game signs us off on. And again, it was something that kind of stoked fans into kind of demanding answers.
Well, you see this whole thing about he made it to be the last game, then pull shit like that. It's like, get out.
Get out, you bastard.
You're full of crap. You're full of crap. So the interaction is between Solid Snake and Otacon. That last one, just small detail we've glossed over. Solid Snake has the disc or something that has the location and or the names of the 12
members of the Wiseman's Committee.
And Otacon looks into it. So he gets on the Otacon on the blower and he's like, look, what's the story? Did you find them?
Snake, you there? It's me. I've finished going over that disc.
Did you find the Patriots list?
Of course. It contains the personal data of 12 people. There was a name on it. Snake, it was one of our biggest contributors.
What's going on around here?
I don't know.
Anyway, where are they?
Well, we were right about them being on Manhattan, but...
But what?
They're already dead. All 12 of them.
When did it happen?
Well, about 100 years ago.
What the hell?
That's been Metal Gear Solid 2, lads. Fucking sound.
Oh, God!
So, after all that, once again, get your bag and baggage and fuck off!
Life isn't just about passing on your genes. We can leave behind much more than just DNA. Through speech, music, literature, and movies, what we've seen, heard, felt, anger, joy, and sorrow. These are the things I will pass on. That's what I live for. We need to pass the torch and let our children read our messy and sad history by its light. We have all the magic of the digital age to do that with. The human race will probably come to an end sometime, and new species may rule over this planet. Earth may not be forever, but we still have the responsibility to leave what traces of life we can. Building the future and keeping the past alive are one and the same thing. Bastards.